Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Relax Bro. I have a very special guest with me today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people where they might be able to find you?
Okay. I'm Morgan Clark. I run a company called MCD1. You can find me Morgan Clark Design 1 on whatever social platforms or internet.
Oh,
That's what I was looking for right there.
where are you guys out of?
We are out of a small area called Lake Matthews.
Lake
Yeah,
Matthews.
so that's Riverside County, near Paris or Corona. More, and then if you wanted to tighten it up even more, we're in Gavilan Hills.
Okay,
We have a ranch out there.
nice. Um, I think a lot of people know you about your company and stuff,
Yeah.
probably mostly, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'll leave you to navigate this, and I'm grateful to be here. So
yeah,
wherever you want to, but I kind of the short end of it is I'm transitioning into a brand and a business owner versus an individual that is just kind of a person, just an individual person.
did you grow up down there?
No, I grew up well. I grew up and you got to be careful with me because I'll just start, and then you're gonna have to, like, if you want to change something, you got to let me know because I'll just keep going.
It's your story, man. Say it however you want it.
But I'm a tangent master.
That's fine.
Um,
I'll
I
write. I'll write notes and
Okay.
bring us back.
Okay.
Yeah. So just do your thing, man.
Um,
Wherever you want. I want to know how you grew up as a child.
yeah,
I want to know.
I'm good on that. I'm
Yeah.
good. So I did grow up in that area technically because you could call that the Inland Empire.
Okay.
So I was born in Arcadia, and then we moved to we lived there for a little bit, and then went to Duarte for maybe under a year, and then we kind of stationed and nestled into Laverne. Laverne is at the base of the foothills. San Dimas, Glendora, Claremont, Pomona,
Yeah.
all border Laverne. I think I moved there when I was 5 or 6. Went to, I grew up, I was born in '85, so I had a really good youth.
Yeah. So you rode bikes.
I did it all. I got into skateboarding. I did a little bit of fruit booting too, some inline skating.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah, and then BMX, and then I found dirt bikes when I was like 13.
Okay.
But public schools.
Do you have brothers?
No, only child.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no dad, just a mom.
Oh, wow. What happened? What happened to you?
Sure. So that's a really key part of the story is I had a father, I had a stepdad, or whatever. I had someone that was helping support us,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like a father figure as
Gotcha.
much. He was older. He was 20 years older than my mom. My mom was an alcoholic for a lot of her life. She got clean or sober, 38 maybe, and I'm gonna be short of breath too because I have my 3 broken ribs back here. Um, she got clean. The doctor said she could never have a baby. I think 37 or 38, and this guy, my uncle Dale, Dale Clark, he used to restore and race World War II aircraft. So
Wow.
he would build them from in his
Dude, that's
hangar,
so sick.
and then he was like a gnarly pilot. And he
Yeah.
had like a Stearman biplane, and he'd go up, and there was an open cockpit, like a 2-seater with the pilot in the front and the passenger in the back. And my mom would tell me that he'd go up in the clouds and he'd like do loops and barrel rolls, and they'd be flying upside down, like open cockpit and stuff. And so he was the go-to for a lot of warbird, people. And there was a guy from Australia. He bought a British Sea Fury. So a British Sea Fury is a World War II aircraft. Um,
We can look anything up too if you
yeah,
want.
it's all good. He bought a British Sea Fury, and they have trainer aircraft. So a lot of trainer aircrafts have their cockpit is designed where there can be a secondary person in there, or a secondary set of controls as well.
Yeah.
Almost like when you do a driving lesson back in the day, and there's like
The brake pedals and
the
stuff.
ladies got like to say, like, if you fuck up, you're
Yeah, for sure.
So my brother, or my uncle Dale, had a trainer Sea Fury, and this guy Ted Allen, he flew over from Australia because he bought a Sea Fury and he needed to know how to fly it. He didn't He was a pilot, but these things are like old hot rods.
Yeah, you don't want to break it.
It's not that you don't want to die.
Yeah, but yeah.
So he stayed local, and my uncle Dale taught him how to fly the Sea Fury. And my mom was single, and they mingled together, and she got pregnant. And this was just as she was getting clean, and this is something she got a little miracle baby. Um, Ted had a family and kids in Australia, and my mom, that was everything to her to even be able to have this gift. She got sober,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they said she couldn't have a kid. Boom,
Yeah.
she has this kid.
That's crazy.
She's like, dude, you're good. Just go back.
Yeah.
You can go back to your wife and kids. I got this
Wow.
baby. Like, I am good.
You ever met him?
No.
No.
So, that time rendered, she's like, well, who would be like a father figure? Like, what can I do? Kind of a desperation. And her dentist was, my stepdad. So she like kind of got with him, and he sold his practice, and he went into teaching middle school in Baldwin Park.
Okay.
And that was my stepdad, Hal.
Okay.
It just, and that the thing is, when I've done this before, and saying that I didn't have a dad, I think the context there is I had a stepfather that did the best he could,
Yeah.
but when he's, my mom's 38 and he's 58, having a newborn,
Yeah.
it's just limited, and his ways and stuff and how he showed love was limited. And so my mom filled the role of father for like everything.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy because it's like I'm like I'm trying to process it because it's honestly wild, but you wouldn't be alive, you know what I mean, if that didn't happen.
Which part?
You're Australia, like that guy,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's wild because it's like, would you rather be alive or have a dad?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole principle is I probably wouldn't be alive if my Uncle Dale wasn't doing the crazy shit he was doing,
Yeah.
restoring aircraft. And then I also probably wouldn't be alive if my mom didn't get sober
Yeah.
and open up a window where she could actually have a kid.
That's
you know?
crazy.
So I live a pretty heavy life of everything happened for a reason.
Yeah,
I have
for sure.
a big map of these steps where it's like Back to the Future, where at this point where I'm at, even if I have struggles and pain now, I live in agreement where I know these things are happening for a reason, and then I look back on everything, and it's just everything's kind of been on a path.
Did you when you were growing up, did you know that he wasn't your real dad?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I was a classic piece of shit, only child. Like when I'd get mad, I'd be like, "You're not my dad, anyways." Like
Okay.
just there was.
So you had it was rough for you growing up.
I don't think it was rough. I think I had a great spoiled only child life.
Yeah.
And we were like suburban family.
Okay.
My mom got me everything that she could help with.
You
But
just didn't have the emotional support that you.
I did not have a father figure.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the discipline,
Mm-hmm.
the mentorship, the role model, the in-house role model, the example. That's the things that got me. And when I look at it, I have this, and I've spent a lot of time working on myself, but I've noticed from when I was a kid, I've had this rage or this anger. No drugs or alcohol when I was younger, but just angry.
Yeah.
I remember, I had instances in elementary school, middle school, and high school of being bullied, feeling helpless, feeling alone, not feeling accepted, just
Not being able to figure it out either because you're just that, like you said, that no father figure stuff. Like, where do you go?
yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And I spent a lot of time, like just playing on my own, like in
Yeah.
the backyard or something. And I think I was good on that, but there was no traumatic events inside of my household. I think the only time that was traumatic is like I was an out of control little kid. So for my mom to have the patience that she did with me was great. And I think there was only one instance maybe where she, hit me or slapped me until she couldn't anymore, maybe 40 times or something. But I know that sounds crazy, but dude, for the temper tantrums that I would throw.
Yeah, well, and that's what you were saying. You said you were just saying you were a problem child, but what does that mean? Like, were you like causing problems with other people, or
No,
you just didn't listen?
I had emotional problems.
Okay.
And you know, just throwing temper tantrums,
Yeah.
just not able to figure things out or be happy.
Properly express yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
So you just lash out.
Yeah. And the classic, at least for me, and my perspective only comes from my life. So, I don't know if it's right or wrong or good or bad, but when I share things with you, it's only my own perspective because that's all I
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
And for me, it seems like you hurt the people that you love the most, because you have a unconditional kind of protective barrier there where it sucks, but that's where you can act out because those people aren't going to leave you. They accept you. And I think same with my mom. My mom saw a lot of that because that was my only safe place,
Yeah.
you know?
Love is crazy. That's what love is. Like, it's what I get it. I lash out too. I don't mean to. I don't know why I do it, but I think it's the same thing. Like, you don't know how to properly express yourself the way you want. I think about it like the F word. Like, I hate that word,
Mm,
but that's all it's like a way to emphasize what I mean growing up, you know?
sure. The F word is part of a vocabulary that can be used properly or it can be used too much. And you usually pick up on when someone is riding the line of using it too much. I think acting out, regardless, comes with lack of personal growth and development. There's, from where I have been to where I am now is very different,
Yeah.
and that's why I expressed to you like I'm grateful to be able to come on and share because I've already like I keep going through growth in my life
Yeah.
where like I keep turning into a different person,
Mm-hmm.
and for the better. I'm not degrading into a shittier person, but like I'm growing and I'm learning and it just keeps changing. It's insane, and so that's why I'm glad I'm due for a checkup to to talk and share.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
open invite, man, anytime you want.
sure. So yeah, grew up in Laverne, went to all the local schools, and then freshman year got expelled from Bonita. Actually, my mom pulled me from Bonita, and that's the local public school there. Went to Lutheran, and then Lutheran was like a fresh lease on life.
Why'd you get pulled out of there?
I think she thought it would be helpful for me. My mom was trying to find solutions.
Was this where you were getting bullied at, you think? Or
It wasn't enough bullying. I don't think I shared with my parents the few times that I got bullied. There was only two really memorable times that needed to be shared because of injury or something. Um, and then the other times I just kind of kept that inside.
okay.
But it wasn't a ton. It wasn't every day. But when it would happen, it was a lot of people. Big, large group of people laughing at you, someone punking you, someone belittling you, feeling helpless, not being able to defend yourself. And in front of a group.
Yeah.
And that's stuff you remember for a while.
Yeah, for sure. You don't ever forget that stuff.
Yeah, and so when I went to Lutheran was the change because it was a very small school, and it was a Christian school. But I was accepted. I came in from public school, so I was like the cool kid. I was riding dirt bikes. I elevated right to like the group.
Yeah, for sure.
There wasn't like all these other people that were capitalizing on me or something. And that's where I met my wife.
Really?
Yeah, sophomore year.
No way.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yep. So I can keep going. I
Yeah,
just don't. I
for
don't know
sure.
where you want to be
No,
with that.
that's awesome. Like, expand on that. You guys been
Well,
together since then? Or you
yeah,
guys?
25 years.
No way.
Yeah,
That's freaking nuts.
yeah. And I think that like a lot of she's been with me through everything, and she's been there when I haven't been able to be there for myself a lot.
Yeah.
She's taken the reins with our kids when I wasn't able to be there for them. And I have a debt to her, and I struggle now because part of my story we can, piggyback however you want, but like part of my story comes with alcoholism and addiction and getting clean. And now like the things that I fight are like my character defects of being able to be a good partner, or share or give or prioritize or make time for things that I just let slide over the years that make me feel like I'm not good enough right now, and that trigger insecurities, that are just warnings of stuff I need to work on, not doomsday things are over, just like, that I hold against myself.
Yeah. You how so let's just pick up where you met her, sophomore year.
Yeah.
Uh, wh- what happened? Were you gonna? Did you finish school? What?
Sure. Yeah, I like I said, just if you just intervene a couple times, um, I'm pretty clear on a lot of my life story, and
Okay.
I can run it up the whole way. But so sophomore year, I came in. Taylor was this hot girl that was unattainable to me. Very low self esteem, zero confidence, just talking shit, riding dirt bikes, hanging out with kids, just like neighborhood kids,
Yeah.
doing that, building dirt jumps.
Well, the reason I dig into the high school thing is like, when did you start drinking?
Yeah.
When did you start finding your addictions?
We'll get there.
Okay.
I'm good on this for a second.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
so I started. Taylor to me was like this. She was so hot that it was valuable because I never needed to act a certain way around her, because I'm like, I'm not gonna get this chick anyways. Like, fuck it, I'm not doing that. This chick, and I thought it seemed like she only dated older dudes, and she was always going off to her dad's in like Reading or Shasta. Not attainable, and she was somehow miraculously she was in all my classes. Like the first year I think or whatever, she was like in all my classes, in different periods and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? So we'd hang out and talk, and she'd come over, and like I'd be at my lower locker, and she'd like sit on my neck right here and stuff, and I didn't have any physical touch from girls or anything. And then she went away to her dad's for a couple weeks. Like, I don't know if it was Christmas break, and I'm gonna screw all this up, but just she went away during the year for like a couple weeks. And there was this other girl that like I liked, and something I thought was more attainable or whatever. And so I started dating this girl for maybe a week or two, and then when Taylor got back, she was like furious, just like, what are you, blah blah. And long story short, she let me know how much she liked me, and I read the whole thing, and of course I jumped right on that, because that was absolutely insane that this, I fell in love with her.
Yeah.
And we were like peas in a pod for everything. So that was sophomore year. Junior year, ditching school a couple times a week to go ride dirt bikes in Beaumont. We'd like park in the back and then have the bikes loaded, and like lunchtime or something we just leave. And I wasn't drinking or doing like smoking weed or doing drugs or anything, but it was like just talking shit, riding dirt bikes, and then it got into a couple fights. And then I got into a fight, got expelled, ran. Taylor got into another fight. I ran her a fist pack, like a thing of quarters that was taped up with electrical tape to put in her hand. Ran her to the school after hours, and had she beat up some girl, and then like she got expelled. And
Oh man.
I ended up going to back to Bonita right around that time, junior year. So junior year, right around that time, I was doing a little bit of dabbling in like smoking weed, just minimal on the weekend or something. And I had this tree house in my backyard, and it was just kind of a structure that was built on like some cinder brick wall thing in it, like in a tree, but it wasn't suspended in the branches or the whatever.
Yeah.
So like my house, my whole childhood was the house. People did not knock. My mom was there, but I had all my friends there. It was the classic like meme you see where all the bikes were in the front yard on the grass, like ramps outside.
The good old days.
Yeah, and that was my house, and we the pool and everything. So even throughout high school, like there's people coming over every day. There's always people there, and then on the weekends, there's always people staying the night. And there was one weekend specifically where my mom's like, Jeff cannot stay the night. nobody is staying the night tonight. Blah blah. And it was weird. Like, well, whatever. I'm okay, cool. And so Jeff spent the night, and we were in the house, and he was sleeping on the floor, and I was up on my bed, and we were both in the room, and it was like 3 o'clock or something, and she opens the door, and there's like I could just see the hallway lights on, and there's big ass silhouettes, like a big ass dude and some chick. And then she's like, Morgan. She's like, and she gets Jeff. She escorts Jeff out, and then she's like, Morgan, these people are gonna take you. Um, you're gonna go away for a little bit, and like the guy steps in because that's about as much as my mom could do. My mom loved me unconditionally, so for her to even get that much out, that was a lot for her. She's like, the guy comes in, and then he says something like, hey, your mom's got you. We're taking you. Um, you know, you can do this the hard way or whatever, but no matter what, you're leaving with us tonight. So you need to get up and you need to get your stuff, and we're leaving. And then I'm like, I think I'm still a little bit stoned. And remember, I wasn't habitual at this point. Like, so it was a novelty. Like, you get high on a Friday or something, it's a novelty.
Yeah.
So I probably went to bed at 12 or 1, and if it's like 3, then I'm 2 hours out of getting out of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of am in a daze myself, and I walk down the hallway. I'm just like, I got my clothes on, and these 2 people are in my house. I've never seen them, and like I said, it's a big enough dude. I'm not a big person, so a large figure like when you're 17, it's a thing you're gonna kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, for sure.
My mom's out there in the living room, and she's like crying into her face, like whatever. And I was so pissed, and I was so angry, and you're like, anything you want to say? And my mom's like looking at me, and I'm like, Mom, and I eye contact her, and I was like, fuck you, and I left because that's where I was at. I wasn't able to process anything else. I was like a little, I wasn't, primary feelings usually go to anger first.
Yeah.
When you, especially when you're not in tune with your emotions.
Yeah.
So I couldn't track what was going on, and I just kind of was in a survival mode, I guess. So, like we went to Ontario Airport, we flew out of there, then I couldn't figure out where we were at. We were somewhere up north, and then we're driving, and then they stopped at the Dairy Queen, and I got a hot dog, and then like we're driving more, and then we're driving into the woods, and we're driving more into the woods, and my bearing is gone now. We're by Coeur d'Alene, Idaho somewhere. I didn't even know what Coeur d'Alene, Idaho was, and Sand Point, Idaho, and all this stuff, and all of a sudden they bring me to this cabin, and it's a wilderness program. It's a troubled youth outdoor wilderness program called Ascent. It's in North Idaho, really north, almost Canada style. So near Bonner's Ferry, and there's this guy Lars in there. I'm glad my memory's working right now. There's a guy Lars, and he's a mountain man. He's got a big old like shaggy beard, and they're wearing all like Patagonia and shit, and all the like mountain stuff.
Yeah.
And you go into this cabin, and they get you naked, and they strip search you, and then they put you in this standardized kind of thing, like this blue shirt and this turquoise shorts and this like shitty little blue hat, and then they give you a bag, and the bag has some clothes. It has a toothbrush, a toothpaste, an Algene water bottle, and a sleeping bag. And then you do this walk, and you walk more into the woods, and it's beautiful. Walk into the woods, and then there's this clearing, and there's 2 big ass teepees spaced apart, and then there's like this central thing, and then there's like a mess hall where you eat food. That's a shelter, and then there's like a open kind of top shelter thing, and there's kids like chopping wood, and then there's kids sawing wood, and then there's kids stacking wood, and then there's also kids coming in from the other area of the forest with chains on, dragging wood. I'm like, oh, and I don't have an option at this point. I'm just going with the flow.
Yeah. So whenever that first happened, were you like, did you get scared, or were you just mad?
I think when you do that stuff, I also went to jail when I was 19, and it's the same feeling of just like you surrender to the situation.
Okay.
So you're in a survival. There's obviously not, you're just there's too much going on that's foreign for you to start game planning. I need to get my bearings here.
There's not much
before I
can
can.
do about it
You
anyway.
can't run.
Yeah.
You're so deep in the forest.
Yeah.
I remember the conversation when we were at the Dairy Queen. They were talking because that was those two people. Their career was getting kids. This there's a Netflix documentary about these school that I ended up going to.
Yeah.
These boarding schools, these emotional growth boarding schools, and it's the same shit that the documentary is. And these people's job was to take kids from their houses and transport them to either the boarding schools or to the wilderness program, which is a prerequisite for the boarding school, that you need to break the kids a little bit, or they have to go find them when they run.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and I remember listening to them talking about mountain lions. It was the first time I realized that like cougars, they like track you, and you don't know they're following you, and they're curious like cats. And they're like, yeah, blah blah. We saw a hand come down, and we had night vision, and we were watching it. It was, the cougar was 30 yards down, following the kids down the hill. Blah blah. And they were talking about like some kids running from the hill.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the propaganda for me, but I was like, oh shit,
It's
whoa,
enough.
gnarly, yeah. And I was a suburb kid, so I don't know wilderness. Like if I got to have a plan. And so when I was there, turned into a thing. I'm pretty good with routine and structure, and that's what I realized too. So that was a 6-week program. That program constituted, like simple things. They had really good protein based meals, but the whole goal was keeping you warm. So that's why there was this wood thing. You had every other day you had a 2-minute shower. So you'd go to this shower thing down, this was all based in the woods. Mm-hmm. So you'd like walk as a group down to the shower thing. 2 minutes, and then you get in 2 minutes, scrub, clean off, and then you're done. And then you would start off doing log hauls, and the log hauls were to bring in, so then other people that were doing sawing, like old school Knott's Berry Farm, like Pioneer saw, a 2-person guy with the big teeth.
The big teeth.
Yep. And so you'd start doing that, and then you'd cut them, and then someone would split them, and then someone would stack them. And we're talking girls and guys doing this stuff. There was girls in the other teepee, and they're all trouble.
Okay.
Everybody's this thing is all parents that could afford to do this, and it was their last resort. My kid is out of control. I need to save him before he loses control of his life, and that's what my mom felt, and that's why my mom sent me there. It was not out of anger or anything.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Do you think that it helped?
Yeah, and when I get to the school,
Okay.
that's the game changer. The wilderness camp was whatever, and I took that as a great adventure anyways, because, like...
Did you end up liking it?
Well, dude, the cool part is you get to... You start doing the basics, like the meat and potatoes, and then you journal every day, and they give you writing assignments. You sleep in this tent, or this teepee with a sleeping bag, and then like the one thing too is they don't let you use water when you brush your teeth, so you'd always like toothpaste and then just spit till you're done.
Dry mouth
Yeah,
all night.
So, or you save your spit to when you're gonna brush your teeth, because it's coming.
That's crazy.
But the the thing was, you go out on course, they call it, and that's 2 weeks in the wilderness. So you do 4 weeks of preparation and conditioning, and then like you do a 2-day wilderness thing first, and then they take you out, and for your finisher on that place, I think it's 2 weeks straight. And we got dropped in northern Idaho somewhere, and we did not see civilization or anything for 2 weeks. Food drops, packs, sleeping on 7 feet of snow.
It honestly sounds awesome.
Well, for kids now, it'd probably be fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was, I got to embrace some of that. You don't sleep in a tent. You sleep in a thing that's a tree to tree, like a string with a tarp. So it's all open on all the sides.
Did they treat you like, did the people there, were they treating you like inmates, or were they just genuinely there trying to help you?
Definitely more on the helping side.
Yeah.
If you act like a piece of shit, then you get discipline.
Okay.
But it was not like kids getting beat.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. And I know that I heard ones in like Provo, Utah and stuff. There's some nasty ones.
Really?
Yeah, I had the kid that was there, because a lot of higher profile kids would be there. So I think it was like Will Smith's like cousin or something. I remember there was a kid there that was like Will Smith something.
His whole story is actually true.
Yeah. So, I think there was value there, and all those people that worked there that were wilderness people at heart. They were like, they could take you on like a trail, and know what to do.
They're
And
just showing you what they knew.
yeah, we were like we had Nalgene bottles, and we were getting water from creeks and putting iodine in it, and there was all kinds of little floaties in it, and we were having granola, and like it was pretty fantastic when I think about it.
Yeah.
It was just the problem was that you're pulled out of your environment.
It's like being a grown up. I'd be like, "Oh, dude, take me away now."
Yeah, and so we had to do food hauls at that place where we'd have almost like if you were carrying like a someone that's hurt with the sticks, like one guy leads,
Like a
whatever that is.
little
I'm not gonna,
stretcher, like a little stretcher.
like a stretcher. So
Yeah.
we'd have that, but it was in the middle. It was storage for food, and so what we'd do, if you were on a food haul, every day someone had to do the food haul up to Northwest Academy, which is maybe like a quarter mile or a fifth mile away from the teepees and stuff. And so you'd go up there, and then you'd go to the back kitchen, and it was this big lodge, and it was this whole other facility. And it was 2-story log cabin type, beautiful, and it was a big facility. You only went to the back, so you could never see, but I could see like little spread out cabins and green grass and soccer fields, and it's all in the woods still. It's all up in Bonner's Ferry area or Sandpoint, past Sandpoint, and that was Northwest Academy, and that was the boarding school. That was an emotional growth boarding school, and the thing was, the kids that were going to Ascent, they, the last week they were there, they got a letter. And that was the thing. The letter was either you're going home or you're not going home. And you're going to BCA or you're going to NWA or you're going to another CEDU school, CEDU. And there was one in Running Springs here local. And then there was the Northwest Academy that was right there. And then there was another one that was the BCU or whatever. And that was more towards Bonner's Ferry. And that was a little more aggressive. So my expectation was, I'm not going to one of those schools. I'm going home. I did my time. We're good. I did 6 weeks. I'm all fixed. And then I got that letter and said I was going to that school. That's a year and a half.
Why? What? So is it? Did they see promise in you and wanted to send you to educate you, and not see the promise in the other guys, or was it that
No.
they thought that you needed more time in?
No, so that school is an emotional growth boarding school.
Okay.
And it's caused me more secondary thinking about that because they closed them down because of abusive emotional behavior.
Yeah.
Like abusive ways.
Okay.
And psychological abuse to kids and stuff. And so, that is not an accelerated thing to go to. That's, hey man, no, you needed to finish out your high school like this. You're not coming home. That's where that was. And so that adjustment, you have to think, I was obsessively in love with Taylor. That was my everything. So being pulled from that, that's the number one thing I could think of. I missed her like crazy. I couldn't get over how I wasn't going to see this girl.
Yeah.
You got a question?
Did you guys talk the whole time? Like while you were in there, was there any way to communicate with her?
Northwest?
With Taylor?
In
While you were-
Northwest or
yeah,
Ascent?
Both.
Ascent is a zero communication except for a couple letters from your parents.
Okay.
No outside world communication.
So the school you did get to? How old were you whenever you?
That's going to be a whole other journey we can go on.
Let's do it.
Okay. So that was a 17. So 17 years old was for
Okay.
both of these.
Okay.
The school maybe transition. I don't remember the exact dates, but I like 16, 17. And then I had to do roughly a year and a half at that school, and you're 18 when you graduate usually, so something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, you get to that school, and then there's levels. It's emotional growth based. So what that means is they make you tap into the goal was to pretty much have you become aware of everything in your life that makes you feel guilty or carry shame and things that have happened to you, traumatic stuff, whatever you need to disclose, and bring it to the surface and share it and cleanse it to like the analogy is if we're all born this perfect unscratched spherical ball, this chrome ball, and every time something happens to us, it's a scratch or it's a scuff or it's a big ass dent or a scar, and that's what makes us us is we're all this different version of this ball, but we all start off as a pure little baby that's unscuffed. And so what it is they're trying to kind of clean as much of that off of you to get back to your pure self. And so their tactics to do that were there's a curriculum there. When you start there, So first off, no contact with girls whatsoever. No holding hands, no hugging, no doing any of that shit. Um, you start low. You're in dorms. These little bunks. Everything goes through a commissary, like your shampoos, your toothpaste, deodorant, stuff like that. You cannot have sodas. You cannot have sugars. Later, when you get like 6 months in, is when you have the ability to go to the snack thing and get a soda or whatever.
Okay.
Priority one, first rule I broke there was figuring out how to get a letter to Taylor. And I did. I had one of the older guys that was there. I said, "Hey, please, dude, can you send this?" Like, because that was my everything.
Yeah.
I was able to talk to my mom, but Taylor.
Yeah.
And so I had him when he would go like to visit his family out in Sandpoint. He'd go slip a letter in the mail for me, and then Taylor would, I don't know how she got one to me, but I think it was disguised or something, as my mom or something. And I could tell how deep things were with her and I because she had perfume sprayed on that letter. And I still, dude, my stomach when I think about opening that letter,
Yeah.
being at that school and just, that insane clenched butterfly gnarly thing. So there was like raps that you would do where 2 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays or Mondays and Wednesdays, it wouldn't always be, unless you requested to have someone in there, you would have to go and, you'd go into this group. Everybody in the school would go into these raps. It doesn't mean that they'd all be in the same cabin, but they would, the upstairs of these cabins had an empty room where it was all chairs in a circle. And it was private, and you had all these, you had instructors and, people there. And if you had an issue with someone, you say, "Hey, I need Matt in my rap today. I need to talk to him, or I need to have Beth in my rap today because I have something to say to her." And everything, all the issues and the drama were done in raps. You do not conference, if someone acts like a scumbag to you or something happens or you're pissed or you like some girl or anything, everything needs to be talked about in the raps. And they go for 3 or 4 hours. And they're these, you go in there and so at lunch, and nobody wants to do them. You just know they're going to happen on these days. So like at lunch, they announce like, they put the lists on the wall, like, whatever, Chateau building, Morgan Clark rep, one, or, this building, blah, blah. And everybody looks at the list to see where they're going. And then you go in there and it's people, like the gnarliest stuff is people are running their shit. And what that means is and if I haven't shared this in depth about this place, but people get to this point, and when you're first there, it is overwhelmingly crazy because
What do you mean, like just emotional? Like
running their
everybody's-
shit was the term, and running their shit means you're in this chair and someone is like this, and they're screaming down into the ground at the point where they're popping veins and there's spit coming out, or they're gagging from screaming. Fuck! Just like, and it might start with something crazy where like they're talking about their dad, and across the room, if there's a confrontation, you get up out of the seat, you move over there, the person goes over there. So like their team leader or whatever, they're like, I don't know the right term, but the person that was like a counselor, like would go over there and they knew what they were doing. They'd be like, "What about your dad? What about this? Like, how did he make you feel? Well, when he would do that to you, how did you feel?" And they would like, and they'd build this person up, and they would just fucking, and they would just lose it, insane. And when you're first there, you're like, "Fuck this! Everybody's crazy as shit. Why am I here? This and that." And then what happens is you go through this, and you have, every few months you have to go through these experiences, which are, either a full day, like a 12-hour day of being in a room going through these exercises where they're emotionally breaking you down.
Yeah.
And letting you work through your stuff, and then all of a sudden you'll find yourself running your shit by the time you're deep into that program.
Almost like desensitizing to you, like desensitizing your trauma to yourself.
I think it's just clearing it.
Yeah.
It's like because you have to understand a lot of the girls in there and stuff. There's a lot of sexual abuse going on. There's things, anything that you're feeling guilty about. They're pretty much getting you into a place of accountability where you're cleansing your palate and you're saving yourself through that. You're setting yourself free. But it puts you, jumping forward, with the girls. A lot of the girls that graduate from there are put into a very vulnerable spot because it's super easy for them to be hurt again. because they broke them back down to just being an innocent girl, and then any guy, people fucking suck. So then you go out and then guys can ruin you, and rape you and take advantage of you and all the stuff. So they'd have these raps, and that was how you had to do things. And then if you got in trouble, you'd go on. First off, if you had an issue with someone and something came up, you go on bans, and bans was either bans you can't talk to that one person. Period. Like no matter what, no sitting next to them, no looking at them, no being around them, or bans from school, meaning nobody can talk to you, nobody can look at you, nobody can sit by you. You need to sit by yourself. And then if you get in other trouble, they put you like on a restriction where in the cafeteria you sit. The cafeteria is a big room with a bunch of wooden benches, and then a center like for the food and the salads or whatever.
Okay.
And there's windows around the sides of it, but they would have you sit there for a week or something on the the table. It's like solitary.
Yeah.
But you'd still get food or whatever, and then a counselor would come talk to you.
The way you talk about it now, and I don't know if this is how you felt then, it sounds like you said, you had given in, but it also sounds like a lot of people weren't like trying to better themselves in there. Was that, or was it just like?
No, I think that it's not. I think everybody, it's like,
It was just
birds of a feather.
okay.
Once you're there, you have to get to a point of surrendering. Yeah. For a point where, when the other issue is when you turn 18, they can't keep you there.
Oh, really?
No, because you're 18.
So you chose to stay?
Well, most of that, everybody that's there has to deal with that because you click 18. Most people in high school in their senior year, they click 18. So there is usually an ultimatum that goes, if you decide to leave at 18, we're not going to support you, your parents. So like my buddy Nate, like he strong-armed that shit. He's like, no, I'm out of here. Nate was from Tennessee maybe. And, boom, story, boom, Greyhound, doing coke on a Greyhound while he's 18 years old, back, struggling, all the shit. He came back, and there's people that leave and just it doesn't go well usually. And so for me, it was a lot of just surrendering to the program and then, embracing what it was there. And I that's why I think a lot of people have a extremely negative experience with that stuff when they look back on it. And I'm like, thank God. Like it made me huge levels above with emotional intelligence versus other people.
Yeah. Well, you were trained in it almost.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So it's a double-edged sword because you got your little ADD tool. I like that.
I'm always doing something, man.
No, it's okay. I look, dude. I've just been organizing over here. That's my little. I make a little adjustment, and then I make an adjustment.
I thought about you the other day because this is like a Dakar.
Yeah.
And I was like, copied that bug, didn't you?
Yeah, I copied the bug. So I think there was great value, and it was up in the mountains, and the altitude was great, and I got in shape. There was a weight room, and there was a sauna, and the sauna had wood that you put into it.
I imagine you probably got some more of like a father figure up there being around that.
Yeah. Curtis Foster.
Okay.
That was the one in charge of our group.
Yeah.
Our group was Phoenix. There was different names for the different graduating classes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did, and it's an agreement. The thing I always took from it is being in agreement, because that was the biggest thing. Are you out of agreement? Morgan, you out of agreement? You're out of agreement, like you're dirty. And that could be literally anything. Like, I had an extra Coca-Cola in my locker in the dorm. I had a porno mag under my bed. You're out of agreement, homie, and they just program that into you, and then you'd have consequence. So that turned into me like it was always like the truth shall set you free with stuff. And it sucks because when you go back into the real world, it's a harsh one. And I remember coming back because, we can go back to it, but even when I was 18 and I graduated, and then everything was a harsh reality. Like my guys were, like I had buddies that, they'd meet it in and out every weekend, and, there's people running in and, jumping people with baseball bats and stuff. And I'm like this airhead now that just wants to have love and peace and do my life. And, you're forced back into the shit fast.
Yeah.
and did a lot of that. But the value I got from it is we had so many exercises where I got to, like, I had to write my entire life story, everything I can remember. When I got on one of those restrictions sitting at the bench in the cafeteria, I had to sit there and I wrote in a notepad my whole life story, from when I was born, when I could figure out the first memories and write consecutive memories all the way to when I was there, the whole thing.
I almost feel bad because you've told me several times that you've done this, and I'm almost like, oh man, I don't mean to bring it up again, like,
No,
but
it's-
it brings me to you seem like it seems like you know that this is important, like sharing your story.
I the more I look at it now, because I'm 41 and I've seen other lives and stuff, and I don't think that I'm like a unique, special person, but I know that I've been through a lot of struggle, and I know that I've had a unique, more unique experience than some.
Yeah,
But I just find value in sharing. There's something about teaching. It's the same with building stuff and sharing the process, and I just think there's something to be had with life where it's greater than just me keeping it to myself. If I can share it and someone gets value from it or can relate or it helps them, I found I find value in that, and I don't exactly have a better way to express that.
yeah. I think you nailed it.
So that was, my mom and Hal, my stepfather, they got a divorce pretty quickly after I was at Northwest. He came up there to visit me. He goes, "Hey, your mom and I are going to get a divorce because I didn't sign up for this, and I'm not okay with this. And the fact that she's having you here, she did this behind my back. She didn't let me know. We're done."
So he was on your side.
Well, he was on the side of I didn't need to go there.
Okay.
When I look at it, I'm grateful I went there.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Interesting.
It got me so in touch with my life and my emotions. And people float through life and they don't ever even look at what's happened to them, and they just think they're a product of something, and that's just what they are, and they're that's it, and they don't even know how to look into their life. You know.
I think that's a very important point to make. I think you're exactly right.
So I know that it hurt me because I still had issues like with father issues, and I remember a lot of that even up till I had to like fire a client um in 2023. This guy's name was Thomas, and I remember it would cause me father issues because I still wasn't able to like be confident enough on my own to feel full, no matter how another older man treats me or something. So I still had all that stuff, and the other way it would affect me is you can you can be emotional, and you can be developed enough and grown enough and solid enough with yourself to be emotional and know how to react and how to take the emotions and how to use the emotions or not use the emotions, or to identify that they just are emotion and they don't need to be action. But I didn't do that for a lot of my life. And so the other thing is I was an emotional kid. When I got back, emotional kid, based all my life off emotions, how I'm going to act, how this person's going to do, what I'm going to do based all on how I feel, who hurts me, this, that, like just ran amok like that because I was overly emotional because I'd seen all the different, I'd seen behind the curtains of all this stuff.
Even when you came back, you were still like, you said you jump back or you fall right back into it pretty quick. Was like, were you, did you hold on to that stuff and try to like practice it outside of
I
it?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Part of it, you know, I think we spent some time thinking that Taylor, my girlfriend, was the culprit to a lot of my life, being a problem, right? Like being part of why I was out of control or why I was
Enabling you or just being your
sure.
partner in crime.
Yeah, and the one, instead of looking at me being the problem in my life, it was easy to feed that, and why I say that is we made a thing that my goal when I got back was to not be with Taylor.
What?
I know, and I know that it was I think there was a lot of pain and out of control stuff going on, but when I look at it now, I'm like, dude, I'm the problem. It wasn't her.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. Like, what are we doing? Why are we even having counselors think that, yeah, we got to stay away from this girl, and that's the thing. And so I programmed myself to, if I was seeing or talking to Taylor, that I was heavily out of agreement before I even put boots on the ground back home. And so then, like, for instance, we didn't, I didn't have a cell phone when I got home. So like the landline calls, and I pick up and she's like, Morgan, I'm like, like, dude, insane, because I hadn't heard that voice, and I'm still deeply in love, but I'm programmed to think like I can't be with Taylor. That's the number one thing I can't do. I can't give in. I can't be with Taylor. And I'm gonna look at him like, what? Like, what are we doing? But then, like, she was working a job where she was getting off work really late in the morning, and I would the first couple times I would get a little light knock on my window in my bedroom, and then boom, like, I'd open it, and you're like vulnerable, you know. You have this thing that smells like perfume that's at your window, that's like your love, your first love. And she'd come in and I'd hold her and we'd be intimate, but then the next day I would be in this thing like I relapsed or something, I would feel fully out of agreement. And so that barrier, I broke that barrier of being out of agreement. Like, it's like almost, well, once you do that, then whatever, I kind of let stuff go.
Almost like you lost your programmed morals.
Sure. Yeah. And again, like, I look at my life now, that woman, I'm glad I stuck to my path. Great.
Yeah.
Like, we have our kids, and I'm good. But just, I didn't, it took a while. I was so accustomed to even running my shit, like the crazy stuff I talked about, that sometimes I used to go up and I'd drive up towards Mount Baldy and I'd pull off like where people go to like smoke or have sex or whatever, and I'd sit in my car by myself and I'd just scream into my steering wheel until my voice was gone. I was like 18 or 19. I was just so frustrated. I'm like, oh, I'm full. I'm going to go up there and I'd just scream, like, windows up at night. Nobody's there with me. Just let it all out until I'm like, and then I'd drive home and I'd be good.
Yeah.
And so I had these tools that were not very practical for real life. And then when I started to just not use them anymore.
Just because it'd be almost scary for them to experience it.
Well, when you say that, and I have enough bearing even now, like, that probably sounds crazy, but that is just primal mental health
Oh,
tool.
yeah, I think so.
Like,
yeah.
if we sat in here and you and me, we just said fuck it, and we started talking about shit, how's that make you? And you just start, and we let out one scream, and you let out a scream, and then all of a sudden we would be sitting here doing that same thing, and then we'd walk out and go, oh my gosh, that was amazing, because that's just how we bottle stuff up.
Yeah.
So I just lost doing that stuff. I was still exercising and going to the gym, but just fell off. Just going back to normal shit, and just what you realize when you're out of, at least from the group of kids I was hanging out with, when you're gone from that and then you get it back into it, it is all just shit talking and criticizing. That is the bandwidth of noise of your dialogue.
I mean, and see, I think talking shit is fun and it's good for the most part, but I think that like there's when it becomes personal and like hateful, like,
Yeah.
or starts bringing like stabbing, you know what I mean? I think a lot of it goes that way because like a lot of people can't take jokes very well either.
Sure. I think there's a place for it, and I think just growing up, that's part of being younger.
Yeah.
But I live a different life now where I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I talk about different stuff.
Yeah, I like to be productive when I have conversations.
Yeah,
like
I don't waste time on that stuff.
I don't want to sit here and talk about vaginas. You know what I mean? I'm good.
So there was just a lot of that. So that's 18.
Okay.
Copy.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
We could just go right back into it. I just leave everything going.
Yeah. So 18, came home. So to circle back a little bit, I've been drawing my whole life. So that was my one thing that was my talent.
I noticed that about you. You draw everything, and that's a unique thing in this field.
Sure. And probably for a lot of fabrication shops in general, or whatever you want to call it. I started drawing and, doing artwork when I was old enough to hold like a medium, like a brush or something, or a crayon. And I was getting pretty, like, I could draw some sort of a house when I was 2 or 3 or whatever. And
Yeah.
I started winning art contests throughout my childhood. So fourth grade and fifth grade, I was winning first place in Los Angeles County Fair, art contests and San Dimas Western, whatever. I don't know. I just always take ribbons.
Were you living with your mom?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, all this time. My mom was supporting me, but I was always an insane drawer guy, and I was drawing.
Did she push that, or was that just something you
it was
were
me,
drawn to?
obsessive.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody did it. She supported me. She'd buy me the markers and stuff, but it was me.
Okay.
So I was drawing like I fell deep into military and Air Force aircraft and vehicles when I was in like third and fourth grade, and then fifth grade I was into hot rods and stuff, and I was drawing like 55 Chevys and Nomads and stuff in fifth grade. One detail that falls into my life now is I drew a 55 Nomad was black with flames on it when I was fifth grade, and I gave it was a rear 3/4 view, and I put Clarke on the license plate. And then I gave it to this guy Travis that was my friend then. And then I drew this other one. I don't remember. I think it was red. And I entered mine in the San Dimas Western Arts Festival or whatever. And then I went to go see how things placed, and I got like second or third. Like, what? And I look, and not in an ego way, but I was doing pretty good because I was in fifth grade, so I was always taking first. And I look over in the corner, and there's this black car. What is that? I look over there, and it's my drawing I gave the guy, and Travis
And he entered it?
Yeah, and I realized that he used my shit and ripped me off.
No way.
Yeah, and it left a mark, and that mark didn't surface till something else happened.
I was thinking that was going to be like a reaffirming situation where you're just like, oh well, I won either way. But
there was something.
He took it as his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so he, that's well. I mean, also, what kind of idiot? Like I said, Clarke on the license plate, man.
Yeah,
like, come on, figure it out.
Yeah, I think he won on that one.
Yeah.
Way.
So, anyways,
you took first and second.
Yeah. So, I've been doing that, and then fifth grade they had this program called the GATE program. It was
I remember that.
Gifted and Talented.
Did you do that?
I was the first and only person to go in for art.
Did they make you drink the pink fluid?
I don't know what that is.
Oh man, there's like all these conspiracies about that GATE.
Well, I was in the GATE program, and I was in the GATE program starting fifth grade, then all the way through middle school.
Yeah.
But I was like one of the only ones that was in there for artwork. They made me the first person.
Yeah.
And then I was winning contests and newspapers and stuff, and then I won.
They just make you draw? Were you being like
No.
at that point being fed drawing? Or?
No, there was no course of what. It was just me drawing.
It was almost like they were like
sponsored.
So you think like I thought of it as like they were trying to like use you for your talent.
Maybe, but if it just let me draw, then I don't care.
Yeah.
My younger years, going and all the way from especially fifth grade, going all the way through high school, was Morgan, you need to stop drawing. Morgan, stop drawing. Morgan, please stop drawing. And I wouldn't care, and then it would be, the school called and we have to go in and talk to your teacher, and then we go into the meeting. Morgan won't stop drawing. I don't know what we need to do here, but Morgan will just not stop drawing, and I wouldn't stop drawing, and I drew my whole entire life.
Yeah.
When I was 11, so that's somewhere. What is that? Sixth grade, I think. Sixth or seventh grade.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
I wanted to design cars. I knew that that's what my passion was, and my mom was getting her hair done at this place called Bioshi's in Pasadena. And in Pasadena, there's a school called Art Center College of Design.
Okay.
And they're very well known for their product design and their transportation design program. Transportation design is a blanket for design for
vehicles.
What's that?
For like vehicles?
Transportation.
Oh, dude, that's badass.
So anything that moves you, right,
No
is
way.
transportation.
I didn't know that existed.
Yes, and there's CCS in Detroit. And there's just a couple, maybe 3 schools.
We should let that be known that that's a thing, because dude, that would have changed my life.
So it's a very prestigious school, but the thing is, I didn't know what it was, but she was at Bioshi's. Biyoshi was a Korean guy. And Bioshi's like, hey, I got my friend. His name is Ed Wong, and he would like to see Morgan's work. And so my mom shows him the stuff, and Ed goes, hey, this guy's a phenom. Let me start teaching him what he's going to learn in art center in college now. And so I was going to, Monterey Park, where all the Asians are over there. And I would go to Ed Wong's house in his back house, and he'd have like a cigar. And I was 11 and 12, and he was teaching me visual communication. So like drawing three-dimensional objects and then adding value to them to make them look like they have shading and stuff and shadows and all that. And then he would give me homework assignments, and I'd go home. I could not pursue that.
Dude, that is nuts.
Well, it was a great opportunity. It was probably $500 a session, something crazy.
That you paid?
I'm sure my mom paid.
Oh, really?
It was hours.
Oh, wow.
And he was teaching at Art Center.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. That's like a unique experience too. It's like unique experience one after another with you.
So that was huge, but I was too consumed by being a kid, and my priorities were going out before the streetlights come on and digging dirt jumps. And like I'm sorry,
you can't give that up.
No, I couldn't that's see. Part of life. I couldn't see the chess move. I was just playing checkers because that was my childhood, And so Ed's like, hey, Morgan's not committed. I don't think it's time. He's just not ready to do this, because it was going to be like, when you hear about those kids that they go to college when they're like 16 and they're in college and you're like, what? Like some smart kid. That was like my trajectory if I would have pursued working with Ed.
Like academics or something?
Going to Art Center early.
Okay.
Art Center specifically.
Okay.
That's that school.
Yeah.
And that's what Ed did. He graduated Art Center. He started up like a car design firm, and then he opened up. I think it was called .co, and then he was instructing there. The thing with Art Center is all of the instructors there they're working professionals that teach. They're not professional teachers.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, what that means is they're not some fucking teacher that pulls up in some old shitty Volvo with a briefcase.
They're
and that's
teaching
his
what
job.
they do.
They work in the industry, and they're bad motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then they go over there and they teach out of passion.
Yeah.
So they have the best guys there, and it's not some dude where, like, a lot of teachers and stuff, you're like,
it's just their job.
Well, I don't admire you. I don't want to, like, you're not making money and doing life like I would want to do. Why would I listen to you?
Yeah.
But these guys were all gangster ass designers.
Yeah.
So that.
And what I'll slow you down. What were they focused in? Like, what were they still automotive stuff?
So transportation design, like I said, the school does photography. They do a couple other things, but primarily they are known for transportation design. Product design is like, this is product design.
Yeah.
This is product design.
Yeah.
Transportation design is anything that moves a human.
It's like imagination. You just make it up.
Well, it's design. No, I mean, everything you look at is design. Okay. So like how a soda can is shaped, how the typography on the liquid death cans are, the knobs, that logo, that's all design. There's multiple people figuring out how that needs to look to optimize it.
Okay.
So my thing is I wanted to be a car designer, work, and I thought that my goal was like, I want to be in a big corporate building in Orange County wearing a suit, working in a clean, like, eating off the floor studio and all this stuff. And I wanted to piggyback to there because then 18, I came home, didn't know really what I wanted to be doing. I was into pre-runners and stuff already because of like just dirt biking and
just being down in that area, the SoCal.
Yeah, and when I was, backtrack again, before Northwest Academy, my mom was taking me. I got a 250cc two-stroke early. I didn't have an 80, so I never made the adjustment from like an 80cc to a 125 to a 250. So I got a 250 when I was 13 or 14. It was a big old bike, and it was a WR, it was a wide ratio.
Vibrate your arms off.
It was a wide ratio, long wheelbase desert bike with a big tank on it.
What was it?
A Yamaha.
Okay.
Yeah, Yamaha WR 250, and it was a 96, so it was
like a rally bike, like a Dakar bike almost.
It was still desert bike. It was pretty rough, but it was 4 years old at that point. My mom had a CR 250. Two-stroke Honda, and then she would take me out. Our local shop was Montclair Yamaha, and so I'd go in there and they had like this flyer, like the Ty Davis, like whatever Hare and Hound, Johnson Valley race, and I went out there and I thought that was the first race I did. I did this Hare and Hound, and it was 2 laps. It was 100 miles. Oh, man. And my mom used to take me riding everywhere, so we would.
And you were like, how old?
15 or 16.
Damn.
And I thought the way they recommended it, they said, hey, just do the first lap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like 60 or something,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe vice versa. I don't know. But there's 2 laps, and they say when you come in, just that's what the first time guys do. And I spaced out, and I thought it was just to splash fuel, and then I went back out, and then I realized, you're so far out, you can't turn around and give up. So I'm like, oh, dude, I'm on the second lap. Oh my god, and I'm fatigued. That was to this day still probably the heaviest physical struggle I'd been in, because I was at the point of fatigue on my bike, because I used to ride super fast. On the bomb start, 5th gear, I hit a rock and I ended and I flew and cartwheeled, and I ran back to my bike, and that was how my race started. And you don't know what place you're in. You're mixed with all the classes. They just introduced thumpers, like 4-stroke bikes. Those weren't a thing at that point. So there was like a YZ 426 and some like Husqvarna or something, and that's it. So you'd hear these bikes, you're tired, and you hear this very foreign noise, which was a 4-stroke instead of a 2-stroke. Yeah. And I was so fatigued that just even coming from the District 37 races they are nasty. Well, they're nasty because they mark them. It's laughable what they make you go through. Really? Like at one point, you're like going through stuff where your feet are up and you're bending your foot pegs, and then you're going 5th gear, and then you're transitioning down into a sand wash off cliffs, and it's wild. So I was fatigued where if I had any indifference, I would just fall. Like if I had transitioned from a downhill into a sand wash and up, I would fall.
Just set it down, like just not
fall over, and then I'd have to get back up because I was my whole body was done.
Just picking it up,
dude. I fell 20 times,
God.
And I just whatever, and I kept going. I finished, and I felt when I got back, I was like, I was pooped, but it was the best feeling ever, and I finished. And then I looked at the stats like a week later. I got first in class.
Oh, nice!
Because I was like most people weren't
young.
even. Yeah, most people weren't ripping that. I was on 250, and
man.
So I did more, and I did like some enduros and stuff, and that was where I saw pre-runners is the first time as like
being out in the desert.
Yeah,
racing,
I saw Scott Hyatt was like marking a District 37 course or something, running around doing something out there, and I saw like a little Ranger, and it had 35s on it or 33s and some glass and like maybe a bed cage.
There's nothing like a good old Ranger.
But I saw it and it was sick. It was 4-liter. You could hear it kind of cruising with a little amber light in the back. And I'm like, damn, sick. And it did something. So when I was 16, I had like a pre-runner Explorer. That was my first truck. It was
an Explorer.
You know how have you seen how people are liking Explorers now? I did that when I was 16.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Was a square body?
Yeah, dude, I did that. Yeah. This whole thing I've seen, like, where like there's some of these companies that are making old Explorer parts. I'm like, bro, when I was 16, I had the epitome of that. I had a Explorer with an 1.5-inch full cage in it with harnesses and buckets and front glass.
Well, let me slow you
coils.
Down. Why did you do that? How did you get there? Who helped you do that? Who taught you? Like, where did that come from?
So
how did you get into this building stuff?
Well, that's the thing, and that'll be where we start work and stuff.
Okay.
But just piggybacking, when I was 16, that was my mom picked that truck up for cheap from T&J's Off Road. It was like a '94 Explorer 4-door, and it was raced.
Oh, so it was already.
It was built. Yeah,
right.
it was built for stock class. It was
Gotcha.
And it was raced in Best in the Desert.
Gotcha.
And Donahoe did a bunch of valving and stuff on it, and it had like a bypass in the front, bypass rear, pro posi, 513 gears, 33s. And we used to bomb that thing everywhere. I would drive it out to the desert. And
so your mom was a big influence in this.
Oh, my mom used to take me to the BMX track in her Mercury sedan.
She just
with
wanted the best for you.
5 bikes in the back with a trunk cracked, strapped
this is
down.
So crazy.
That was her thing. So she took us everybody that knows me and my history, my childhood that's around knows my mom.
Yeah.
Because my mom was the shit like that. She served it up.
She wanted a kid and she got a kid.
Dude, she got sober, and then she got a gift, like a life gift, and she's like, I'm all in. And I think part of the other thing too is that I think she loved me unconditionally to the point where maybe she loved me too much. I should have had some discipline but she couldn't. Because she's like, that was her thing, so no matter what, she was going to be with that thing. So 18.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I got back. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but during the time at boarding school, the divorce happens. My mom, there was a guy when she was going to Arcadia High School, the Arcadia Apaches down there. There was a guy named Gary, and Gary had a crush on my mom, and his family was affluent. He had a Corvette when he was in high school and stuff, like just a thug, and he was always a little overweight, and my mom was like a cheerleader and stuff. So she didn't maybe like him, but he had a crush on her. They meet when my Uncle Dale died. We all go to this funeral at Forest Lawn off the 57 over there, and they see each other, and they must have connected, which was a couple years before I went to boarding school.
Okay.
When the divorce happens, my stepdad is trying to take the house. Somehow my mom's in contact with Gary. Gary saves the house, buys the house, so we don't lose the house. They start to date or see each other pretty quick. I don't know where that happened, but he was there to show up and help my mom.
Yeah.
Straight up. I think it was a gift because he lost his wife before that, drowned, like in a riptide, and
God.
so he had some loss. My mom had some loss, and he wanted to help, so he got me a Silverado SS when I got out of boarding school. Like, here you go, just pay the payments. And that was the first brand new truck and the only brand new truck I've ever had.
Brand new truck.
It's 46 miles.
Damn.
It was a Silverado SS. It was cool. It was an all-wheel drive.
What
6
color
liter.
was it?
Black.
What, black?
Yep. And and then the other thing was like, hey, Gary's gonna offer you a job. Gary owns this. Gary's brother and his dad, they're all in the structural steel business.
Okay.
They ran a big outfit called Hortig Inc. or Hertig Ironworks, HOERTIG.
Okay.
And it was a big outfit. They were union. They were pumping. They had a big ass shop in industrial, City of Industry.
Okay.
Multi-bays, big 5-ton cap cranes, service trucks, all the stuff, big yard, and they were doing big beams, and they were building stuff. And so Gary's brother goes bankrupt.
Structural is more like just buildings and
It's like the skeleton of a
shops.
buildings. Yeah. So
it's
structural can be anything from foundational structures.
big thick I-beams and
Yep.
lots of thick welding and
Yeah, big
grinding.
24 beams, 12 beams.
Yeah.
A lot of like red iron looking stuff. And then there's an erection side of that, which is like going out in the field and erecting it. And then it's all the stuff under that: frames, platforms, handrails, stairs, stringers, all that.
Most metal.
Yeah, anything. If you go into if you went to a hotel and you wanted to take the stairs from, the 4th floor down, all those stairs would be something we'd make. Or the foundation that holds all the concrete, the stuff you don't see.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff they do.
Yeah. Okay.
So his brother went bankrupt. Gary bought the business. His business before that was Levy Craft Boats. He used to own Levy Craft.
Oh shit.
And he so my Uncle Dale, Clarke, and Gary, they were partners in Levy Craft.
Okay.
They started Levy Craft Boats, and then they sold. Gary bought in, my brother, or Gary's brother was going bankrupt, bought the steel place. And I started working there in City of Industry when I was 18.
Welding or just being part of it?
So the guys that were there were runoff of the union guys, OGs, all Mexican dudes, Gilbert and his son Adrian, and they took me under. And I think part of it was that I was kind of an airhead. I didn't know shit still. I came in, I was not confident, and I did not know stuff. I was fresh off the boat.
Yeah.
As far as getting back into Southern California.
Just learning what the hell life was out of being
exactly.
in the
Yeah.
woods.
So it was a lot of that was probably laughable as far as me not knowing, because they just threw me in that shop. You get there early, it's cold. It's one of those buildings where it's a big roof and it's long, but the sides are open.
Oh, okay.
But the long sides are closed,
Mhm.
so you can run cranes out and stuff. So
Wind come through there.
Yeah. And Gilbert and Adrian were the OGs, and they came from union, and they came with the business when Gary bought it.
Okay.
And so he's like, hey, this is my stepson. You need to he's going to start working here. So the usual, I think how it goes, at least how it went for me, is they start you from the bottom. So a lot of it was getting that we were scrapping a lot of that building because we were going to move at some point down to San Clemente. So I started off just with a torch. And not even that. I think I started off just outside, and I was learning how to use the crane, and I was lifting stuff up, and I was dropping it into bins. and that was it. And then it would turn into going inside. And I remember the first thing they showed me was how to use a big punch, like a press.
Okay.
And so with that, I had to learn the crane. So I learned all the, the 5-ton crane, and I'd be strapping. I learned how to rig the beams with the chains, and then I'd have to kind of position them, and then I'd be running like a 40-foot beam or a 20-foot beam, and then I'd be, punching out the flanges that were cut on the outsides of them. So I'd be running them into a punch, and I'd do that for months. And then it would be like, okay, now you need to grind this handrail. So all the handrail had all these booger flux, like dual shield flux core welds. So there was a bunch of horses in this place, steel horses to set everything. And so they'd bring over with the crane 10 packs of handrails that were 40 feet long with junctions everywhere.
Okay.
So I would sit and I would grind these junctions with a big ass a Cadillac grinder, like a 7-inch grinder, stone wheel.
It's crazy.
And I'd just do that for months, and to the point where no sitting down. You can't sit while you're doing that. But I'd be like, fuck, dude. So I started doing the grind. And what I didn't realize was this was all contributing to a tool set, to my life tool set. Because I'm learning how to blend all these welds and all this stuff.
You gotta learn,
And it is just foundationally just...
I was just talking to a younger kid. I don't mean to...
Yeah, it's fine.
I was just talking to this younger kid, and he's sitting there, and he's like, man, he's in this small town. I'm like, go find anybody that welds.
Yeah.
Anybody that welds, and say, hey, can I help? And guarantee you they're going to make you grind something. They'll make you do something. And that's how you learn, is you have to go through it's like an apprenticeship.
It is. Well, it's traditional.
You have to learn how to use a grinder, because if you go into weld and you don't know how to grind,
I had no clue that it was a foundational crash course like that.
Yeah.
Well, not even a crash course. It was a foundational curriculum.
It's almost like a trade handed down.
Rite of passage.
Yeah.
And so that's how I grew into my skill sets. It was literally, it went to grinding, and then it went to using the horizontal bandsaw, which was on an auto feed. So I was learning a cut list, learn how to do a cut list, learn how to stack this stuff into the saw right, have the saw move with the crane. And then it was tacking stuff. Tack this, make sure it's square, tack this. I didn't start welding until a year plus, because that's all they wanted to give me. Could I go weld on a bumper or something? Yep, I knew how, but I couldn't do it there.
Yeah.
And so during that time it was just getting by kind of thing, just doing the job and working the hours, and I still didn't have direction. And then
at this age, did you know that you were still gonna what was your mindset? You were still focused on doing the design thing, or were you
trajectory unclear?
Okay.
So no, just doing life, figuring it out. No big plans. I did a big lobotomy on my brain, when I was 17 or 18, and I came out of that with no ambition of what I'm going to do.
Gotcha.
And so I was just kind of living life. I was, going to the gym, just hanging out with friends, all the stuff. Trying to figure out where Art Center came into play. I did get in some trouble when I was 19, and I don't want to get necessarily into the details, but I did get in trouble where I spent 6 months in county. And that coming out of there was when I started to figure stuff out a little more. I went back to work for my stepdad. And right around that same time, introduction to cocaine, drinking more. And I was smoking weed too. I was smoking weed super heavy, like stoner style, ripping a bong while I'm driving with my knees on the freeway deal every day, showing up I'm sure, because now I smell when people
bong
smoke.
in the car is crazy.
Dude. Like a 2-foot glass on glass roar with a, beaker bottom with a, ice catcher in it. And I'm literally driving with my knee ripping a bong. Yeah.
It's fun.
And that was how we drove from Laverne to San Clemente.
I think that, that's a stereotype of Inland Empire.
Oh yeah, no, and I was listening to Cottonmouth Kings. I had a SRH sticker in the corner, and I had a bandana or
awesome.
Whatever on my mirror.
This was better times back then.
and that was just, but I didn't have a bigger plan.
Yeah.
And I was just doing the day and going day by day and living in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I got in some trouble, and then I worked my butt to get that all cleaned up, and we expunged everything, and I had to do a bunch of community service because it was 180 days, and and then it was community service, in San Bernardino County. And so then I was like cleaning parks. So Monday and Tuesday I had to clean all the parks in Upland, which was like 14 parks at that time. Get in the van with all these people, wear this vest thing, like pick up trash bags, leaf blowers, all this stuff. And then I was working for my stepdad still.
Yeah.
At some point, it's hard to figure out where, but at some point I go, dude, I want to go to Art Center. Like, that's what I should do. I just need to go to college and go to Art Center. I don't think anybody was pushing me like, Morgan, what are you going to do? You need to do something. I just took it upon myself. I'm like, I got to do something. I don't want to do like this. And so.
You just knew art was something.
Design. It was just called Art Center, but it's design school.
You still had
and there's a big difference between art and design.
Yeah.
Art is something where you take mushrooms and make a bunch of shit on a wall, and that's that. Design is stuff like your glasses or, functional things. Like,
you like creating products.
I like creating things with intent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
With intent, not for a story.
Well, I was thinking about this because I've known you were going to come on for a second, and I like I said before, like I noticed just something in like that I see similar, and I don't know what that is, but I just love to create things, and I don't know that maybe not with intent, but like I like these tape. I mean, I guess it did have intent, but I just wanted to make something that was aesthetically pleasing, I guess.
Sure.
I like even if it is just art.
Well, you designed
see
this,
what I'm
right?
saying?
This is a design. This whole room is a design.
Like I said, creation,
Yeah.
I guess, is where I go to.
Yeah, you centered this thing. You put this table in this direction. You put the checker plate on the sides. The silver checker plate matches the silver of the TV. The curtains add the black and white contrast. Like your light's facing over there. It's coming off over here. There's a bunch of design. Symmetry of us sitting here.
I think I guess I just don't grasp your understanding of design.
I think there's design out of feel, and then there's design also where, like, to go back to that, there's taught educational design. You can teach design, but it's good design. There's bad design too, and that's just usually a lack of education.
Lack of understanding.
Yeah, you can see when people try on stuff and they want, they're inspired and they want to do something, but they think that over the top is how to acquire that, and it's not. It's thinking about design. When some people look at something, they go, I want to make something crazy like that. It's not something crazy. It's something that was thought about. So I made that choice. I want to go to Art Center, and then it goes, okay, well, Art Center does not just accept you. You have to have a portfolio. You cannot just turn in a normal portfolio. You have to go to take Art Center at night classes, prerequisite classes at different places, to build the knowledge to build your portfolio, because the portfolio has requirements. Like, you have to have a mass transportation concept in there. You have to have a other concept. You have to have like 3 different things. I think it's 3 in your portfolio to show them, like, your ideation, your concept sketches, your rendering, your skill sets, all that stuff. And that's all just to get accepted into Art Center.
Which is probably different for every single person, right? It's just like what your mind comes up with, or
well, it's the same categories, but they have to see like what you're about, So if they like the mass transportation category, I came up with, and this is all conceptual, so you do not, the farther away you are from the ground, the better, and meaning like you can go hard, futuristically hard. So mine was pressurized air tubes that transport people into LA. And so I was 21 or maybe 22 when I was doing that. And so I thought about a pressurized air system where there was these big cylindrical tubes, and they were mass transit. So the transport vehicle in the tube was pressurized, so it would slide through there was the friction of the air would not let it contact, and it would be pressurized. So it would open, and then it would let people in. They had a place to load their bikes or whatever. All this, and then they'd up into the things and in different areas and all that.
Yeah.
So you'd have to put together like your concept. What is this? What does it do? How does it transport people? How does it help efficiency? What does the tubes look like? What do the vehicle or the transport device look like? How does it house?
So
what
just
are the seats?
Explaining everything that's in your mind about that
The
part.
concept.
Yeah, just giving so that somebody else could read it, they would understand what was.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it can be wild stuff. Like, I had another one that was a Cadillac that was open front hood bed concept. Like weird now, and I think I'm like, what? But the whole front part was a storage, a utility storage, so you could put stuff in there and close it like a pickup bed, but it was in the front, and and there was a couple other things, but I took these classes, and then I'd have to go. Like the first class I took was down in Oakley, the Oakley Design Headquarters,
Okay.
Foothill Ranch, maybe off the 241 freeway.
Is it the one that's always in the magazines?
Sick looking
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it looks all futuristic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the first place I took classes.
Really?
Yeah, and same.
Inside that building?
Yep.
They did that there. That's awesome.
Well, they had every place that is like that has studios.
Okay.
And studios are where art, design people thrive. So you'd go and all these people that want to do the same thing. Everybody knew that we're trying to go to art center, so this guy's teaching you stuff to go to art center and giving you homework projects. And I prepped myself, and then I applied, and I got rejected. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, well, here we go again. What? And they'll critique you. They'll go in there. You'll go through your portfolio. There wasn't enough this, this, and we didn't choose you because that and this and this. They don't just go, hey, no, you're rejected. You get the letter, but then you also have the ability to be critiqued to improve.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that's like, I'm okay, well, what's next? Here we go. Like, and that was when I think about it now, I'm like, yeah, that's my shit. I don't ever give up. So I took more classes. I went to South Pasadena, and I took more art center at night classes, and then I got accepted and started going to art center.
Were you still working this whole time?
At that point, yes. And then when we were planning to go to art center, no, I stopped working.
Okay.
Because that's a full-time gig.
Yeah.
Yep. So then that turned into, like if you want to backtrack and talk about alcohol and addiction first.
Yeah.
Got
we asked about I think we got like kind of went off,
Mhm.
but I think that was like what we were leading up to is whenever that first started.
Sure. So first time I drank was when I was 16 or 17, and I went up to Pismo Beach, and it was the first time I ever tried alcohol. I was with the Thorpe family, and I had hard alcohol, and then like I'm talking like, dude, I didn't have a bearing on it, and that's how I am. I'm kind of an on-off guy. So it was like Kahlua, Mudslide, Jack Daniels, vodka, and then sitting by a campfire. And I remember I was drinking beers, and they were water. I was like, oh, this is so nice. They're just water. And I don't know what time it was. It makes me sick thinking about it right now. And then the next day, time to go home, kind of hungover, but I remember. So do you remember McDonald's? They used to have birthday parties and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
it was a thing
with toys and stuff.
Yeah, McDonald's wasn't like just full human meat.
No,
like
it was.
It was not as scumbaggy.
Yeah, it used to be pretty cool.
Yeah, play places. They had parties. Like you'd get the whole
welcoming.
inside.
The fries smelled good.
Yeah,
didn't smell like freaking just grease.
The only thing that's still the same, I think, is the Dr. Pepper and the Coca-Cola really crispy.
I haven't eaten fast food or McDonald's in years, but my girlfriend talks about them Dr. Peppers like they're God, bro.
Yeah.
She loves them things.
I've had a sundae from there within the last 6 months for sure.
Yeah.
And it was the same I remember.
I think I got into it about a year ago. I was like, I'm going to get me some those sausage biscuits in the morning.
Yeah.
But then like I immediately realized I'm getting fat. Like this is I can't do this.
Yeah, it's a diminishing return. But regardless, we were up in Pismo.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. and we were up in Pismo, and the I needed to go and barf in the bathroom. And I remember vomiting on my knees holding the toilet in the McDonald's bathroom in Pismo Beach, and all I could smell and taste was beer. And I didn't drink beer the rest of my life.
Really?
Never.
From that moment?
From that moment, ever.
But you drank a hard alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, enough for two. But I did not drink any beer because it was disgusting. And then from then on, I hate the smell, and I don't care how crafty it is or what's in there. I'm not ever drinking it. I don't want to try it ever. I'm done. And I never did. But that did not spark me drinking consecutively after that. That was kind of one of those ones, man, that was a lot. I got drunk. I don't think I drank until I was 18 or 19 since then. Okay. That started off, same thing, never drank I just drank hard liquor. Or they used to have these things called Sparks. I drink, and it was like kind of what it was, Twisted Teas. What'd they have before Twisted Teas?
I thought they were like little energy drinks with
They were
had
kind of
alcohol.
energy-ish, yeah. But it was like, they've had like Mike's Hard Lemonade or the Sparks. And
Yeah.
for me, if I was with people that were drinking beer, there was a lot of times where if we were going to a gas station or something, I couldn't get a hard liquor thing. And so I'd just get these Sparks. And that was my thing. I remember going to Glamis when I was like 19 and I had cases of Sparks that I ordered from the gas station to
Okay.
bring. I was never good at drinking. I was always, passing out in the sand on the side of the trailer on my face or something, like just
Just overdoing it.
yeah, I mean from the start, always on off. That's how I did everything, on off. No medium, no a variable speed, just on or off. Um, I remember 19 or so. I was already done getting in trouble, and I was back, and my buddy was selling cocaine. And I remember I saw it. That was the thing, and I'd never seen drugs ever in my life. And I saw this Tupperware, and he had a corner of a 3-dimensional brick in the Tupperware, a big corner thing chipped off. And that's what he used to pick up. He'd pick up this little. It was like a chunk that looked like it was like off of like an Egyptian pyramid, like a thing. I remember the first time we did that, and it was joyous. I think we stayed up all night, and we went to Six Flags to get season passes, and then went to Six Flags the next day on no sleep. Like,
sounds fun.
no, it sounds terrible now. I fucking hate it.
I've never done it. Well, I've done it once. I just fell asleep. I didn't.
The novelty of that stuff. When I look at it, I struggled with it, but I wasn't the all day every day guy. I was controlled to where I could do it in the evenings, and I usually would prioritize it second. But what started happening is I remember, and I hate even disclosing this.
We don't have to.
No, it's okay. It's just I remember preparing for going to Art Center, and I had this summer, and I've talked about this. I don't know if I've done it online, but I had this summertime window of like 2 months or something, 2.5 months. And I told myself, you just got to just stop. You have 2.5 months to stop now. And then it turned into like you have 8 months. Just stop. You need to stop, and then and just like you think it's going to go. And I remember it was like 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks. And I remember I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And my psychotic brain, I go, you know what? Fuck this. And I went out and I buried that sack in the backyard. And I go, you're not going to go dig that up. You are going to leave that there. I don't know if it was 4 hours, or whatever. And I'm out there with a shovel digging that thing back up just to show you the
control.
Dude, the control. Yeah. And I remember that. I gave myself that window. You can stop. You just got to, let's go into this. Art Center is your biggest lifelong dream you've ever had, and you made it, and you got accepted, and it is literally the premier automotive design school in the entire world. There's only 1,500 automotive designers or something at that point in the world, and most of them come from Art Center. So I gave myself that window. Hey, man, you can stop in like that tester to see if I could do it, and I couldn't. I remember I couldn't, and then it came in, and I remember I was doing good in Art Center, and I had a leg up on the, like I would call it the competition there in my class. Because a lot of the majority group was Korean. They would come over. Parents were funding the thing, and they'd come over, and they were assassins. They were really good, but they couldn't talk, and they couldn't deliver. And part of Art Center was presentation, and it was every room was a studio. Art Center was a 24-hour campus, so you had these grand rooms that were all. Art Center is beautiful. If you look up like Art Center College of Design, you look at the outside. It's a design masterpiece, industrial, black and white only, and the rooms were all industrial galleries where there was fluorescent lights, very bright, and they were open. Let's see if we get images. Oh, you're on chat for this, okay?
Where do you go?
No, I like that. Just depends on what your search wants to be. I get frustrated with chat because when I ask it to draw an image for me or something, it bums me out. You could do Art Center campus image. Building. Campus building. Yeah. You can still send it like that, and it'll do. It figures you out.
Yeah, I've noticed that the later in the day
Yeah.
it is, the worse it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's damn near dumb.
So yeah, see, I used to drive under that bridge every day. So that's Art Center South. That's Art Center right there. It's a big old block that sits up in the keep going. It sits up in the mountains.
Oh wow.
And I used to walk that every single day, and I'd drive under there with my CTSV and rumble that shit. So that's it, and that's where I took classes and stuff.
Where'd it go?
Yeah,
That's the whole building.
Yeah, so that's right by the Rose Bowl. And what you do in there is you'd go in there, and each class that place built you into the north. What they were doing is they were shaping you to be the best version of an automotive designer or a transportation designer you could possibly be. And they were the go-to. So like if Ford or BMW or whoever wants to hire new designers, they go to the 8th term, which is the 8th semester, the seniors, and they go in there and they go, who's doing the best right now? Yeah. And they're like, let me see them. So they were corporate, all the companies in the automotive manufacturing stuff, they would not hire outsource. They would go to Art Center first, and they'd pick guys from Art Center because the prestige. And the thing is, they would give you these workloads where it was mandatory all-nighters, and it was a thing, and they did it on purpose. So they would give you so much work that no matter what, no matter how you managed your time, you were still staying up all night to finish your shit. 30 or 40 drawings per class.
What was the purpose of that?
To season you it's like making you go to a very difficult war zone. So then when you get into an industrial position, you're on top of it and you kill it, and they can't stretch you into any kind of foreign waters because you've already been in the trenches.
It's like stressing you out, see where your breaking point's at.
Or conditioning you, because a lot of the design studios, they push you, and they have projects and deadlines and all this stuff. So there was a bond there, because all the rooms were these bright fluorescent rooms, and there was many nights where all of us are in there. There's 40 of us in a room with like Pandora playing, and we're sketching until the morning, and everybody's going to get breakfast.
Yeah. And
everybody's doing it. It was not a unique thing. So what I was getting at is the presentation. These classes, there would be, they were 4-hour, 5-hour classes, and it was taught by professionals, and it was all badass, learning how to do all VisCom and renderings and digital and clay and, all this stuff. And then you would go home and you'd have to, produce this work, or you'd finish, your projects at school. But then every class, when you came in, a chunk of your class was, they had these huge, studios where you'd put up your name plaque, Morgan Clarke with your signature, and then you'd pin all the walls were pinnable, so you'd pin up, your 20 sketches.
Okay.
And then it was in an order where, A, B, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then what you'd do is you'd go, and each person would have to present, in the beginning of the class. So your work, first thing you do when you get in there, everybody puts their stuff in, puts it up on the wall, puts it in a grid, puts their plaque up there. And then the second thing is, instructor comes in, he goes, all right, where are we going to start? Okay, let's start with Morgan. I go up there and go, all right, well, this is my concept. My inspiration was crocodiles and, and this and blah, blah, and this is what I came up with. And then there's like 30 people. Everybody's standing there right in front of you. You're talking to them, and then they critique it, and it's open critique. It's not, everybody is not in a position where they're being a sensitive person. So it's like, I don't think that looks right. I like C4, and that one's really cool. And there's something special about D7 or whatever. And that's how it'd be. And, and then the instructor come in, I think you're missing on this. I think this is good, but this, you're not understanding here. You need to add line weight here, this and that. And we would do that when we critique 30 people. So every time it's beautiful, because you're getting input from everybody's work, not just you being critiqued. Because then you get to go see other people's.
So you're being,
dude, you are thriving in design.
Yeah.
Design.
Actually,
It gives me goosebumps.
yeah, it's nuts.
And it was incredible. But what I was getting at with the Koreans is super passive. I am, blah, blah. This is my this. So I already had a leg up because I'd be like, what's up? Okay, so I'm doing this. But, I was winning on that because it was easy to talk.
Yeah.
The other thing is I was always top 3, no matter what, top 3 in my class. But what I started seeing happening is I had control of the party, and then it did a rotate. So instead of priority 1 being my homework, being on point, finishing my projects first, it started to go, well, maybe I'm going to finish this thing I have first, and then I'm going to start on my work. and then I'm running out of time. I'm still working on this other thing, and I'm not finishing my work. Oh, I feel like shit. I've been up all night. Oh, I'm coming in late. Oh, I'm gonna miss this class. That a drip of failure.
Did you see it happening when you were there?
I saw it happening after.
Okay.
I noticed, and I thought I could have a grasp on it, and then when I look back on it, like I no, I saw there was one other kid that was early in the process, or he was a later term guy, Asian guy, and he was outgoing and stuff. I was like, that fucking guy's getting fucked up, dude. And he's like, fuck that guy. Like, I didn't like that, and then I realized like that was me. I transitioned into that. I was the super talented guy, but I had my vice, and it was controlling my success and and how I could do good. And so what happened is you learn so much in those classes that if you don't show up to two of them, I think it's two, you're done.
You're behind.
No, you fail.
Oh, really?
You don't get that. Yeah, because you're accelerating your growth with your skill set so heavily that if you miss two, you can't come back and pick it up. You just lost 3 or 4 hours of instruction
Yeah.
and sketching.
Yeah.
No way. So I ended up dropping out of a lot of classes. I failed, and my mom and Gary and I had to have a talk because they were paying for it, and it's expensive. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this and that, blah blah. And they're like, we're gonna give you another chance. And this was right around 2008 or 9, the recession. The business was having a hard time. Gary's business, my stepfather.
Yeah.
And my newly married, my second stepfather, right, the guy that helped us.
Yeah.
So, they got back, and I failed some of the classes, and they're like, Morgan, if you can't put all your effort into this, you can't be we can't afford it. We're going to lose our business.
Yeah.
And if you're not putting your best foot forward and all this and like fully committed, then we just can't do this. So I dropped out.
Oh.
I dropped out halfway through.
So you just chose not to even try?
It's not that I chose. I was consumed. I couldn't. I was fucking up.
Okay.
I dropped out on my own.
Did they know?
To an extent. I don't think it was like, hey, Mom, I'm struggling this hard. But yeah, I mean, I went to a rehab.
Okay.
I did like a 30-day rehab, and it was bullshit. That's why if anybody ever asks me about addiction, I just don't even believe in rehabs.
Can you explain why? That might be a little bit important.
Sure. I think that, well, if someone's found success with rehab, that's fine. I think, and this goes into my story, like it gets a lot darker. And I think that 30 days for an addict or an alcoholic is an easy one. If you're like, hey, bro, you're going to rehab for 30 days, your brain can be like, cool, and just turn that thing off for 30 days. And then you can have a reservation. You can go right back to it. I think the way someone stops a substance or stops drinking is they have to truly be done. There's not loss from outside or anything. It's a mental thing 100%. I don't think you can talk someone into stopping or quitting, and I don't think just time will do it. I think you can come back to it no matter what, no matter how long you're off. So for me, I think I did that rehab as a pleaser, as a, hey, I think it was right around the time I dropped out, and it was like, hey, you got to go to rehab. That was maybe like my get out of jail free card, hey, how are you going to make this better? Go to rehab. So I went to rehab in San Juan Capistrano, and I was living in a house, for 30 days. And I remember like 2/3 of the way through, or like when I had a week left, they give you your cell phone. Cool. Guess what? I was locked and loaded for when I got out of there, ready to go pick up or something.
So you were just already ready. You didn't
it's called making a reservation. That's the recovery term. I had reservations.
Okay.
And so that's the thing. Like, that was just a wash. It was just, and so much of that.
Did you think you were going to be able to control it whenever you came out?
No. I was ready to go back in.
Really?
Yeah, and that's because my stuff I was never a guy that was drinking or using, like, I wasn't waking up and doing that. I was getting whatever I needed to do done. Like, I would never go work somewhere and be high or drunk or something. It was never a thing. It was always like after, that novelty of on the way home or whatever, like garage stuff or something.
Mm-hmm.
So dropped out. That was a little devastating, but I knew it was only my fault. It was nothing else. I knew I dropped the ball, and it felt like my dream fell out of my hands because that was all I ever wanted to do, and that was my opportunity, and I missed it. and I think I made some collateral damage along the way. I think, I I I didn't realize that I was the kid, and I think they were on to me at school, you know, like meaning like people talk, and I'm sending an email, hey, this I didn't do this, and then I'm sending a different email to, the other teacher, and
So you became like the one who
I'm a
wasn't
fucking guy fucking
pulling
up.
his
I was a
part.
super talented guy,
Yeah.
and like I said, I was always top 3. I would have killed at whatever my path was there,
Yeah.
but I killed my own chances at it, you know. So I knew, and then I held on to that for a while. I was like, I want to go back to art center, and I still think about it. I could, because there was it's not like you have to go right after high school. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of people in there.
Yeah.
So got out of that, and then moved down. I was living in like Pasadena and Sierra Madre through that process, and then I moved back in with my mom and Gary around 25 or 25. Um, Gary's running. That's in San Clemente, so they live in San Clemente,
Okay.
and I moved back in with them, and then I start working for Gary again. Um, Trying to tag all the dates together. So working structural steel again, and I came from doing good at drawing and doing that, and I just still didn't have the ambition, and I was like doing some private renderings, like car renderings for car owners, just to make a little extra cash.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really hustling that much, and I had in college I had a CTSV Cadillac, like a V8 stick shift thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Fun little car.
It was a great car, yeah. So my SS got stolen.
Lame.
Prior to going to art center, like my Taylor, now wife, was going to a job interview at a spa in Upland, and
Okay.
she had a set of keys in her purse, and then she had my keys, and she left her purse in the car, and and her whole CD book, and goes into the spa, and then she calls me when she gets out. She goes, "Did you take my car?" Right away, I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Did you take my car?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Well, it's gone." I go, "Do you have my keys?" "Yeah." "Where are your keys?" "They're in my purse." "Well, where's your purse?" "In the car." So she just accident, not a thing, but on the cameras, you see a car pulls up. They probably went to just go take stuff out of it. I in thinking how that would go, they probably dumped the purse out on the seat. Goes cling, ting, 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 ting. Whoa, is this the keys?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like this car pull up, and then the truck backs out. Car leaves, truck leaves, gone. So that's my first truck gone. Problem is, all of our CDs were in there, and that's all
a
you
bummer,
had,
dude.
lifelong of CDs.
Yeah.
Since I was like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins, Sublime, old school, like
Yeah.
from there, from
The
like,
real ones with the prints, like
Dude,
they were
yeah,
printed.
and
It
that
wasn't
was-
just burnt.
yeah, and that was like my 5th grade on collection. Same with hers.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that rendered getting that car, and that was like my baby. And why I say that is I got that car, and then I totaled it down in San Clemente, and then I got a C5 Z06
Oh.
Corvette.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So that's the flip up headlight one,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cool, but it was still it was long, and it scraped on the front, and it was a 2-seater, and it just wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And I had this itch, and I'm like, I just want to get a pre-runner again. I'm out of college. Like the CTSV was great because I was zipping around Pasadena and commuting, and it was fast and easy.
Yeah. You can almost need something like that down there.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, I just want to get a truck, like and so that's what started. Is I was working for Gary, and then I put up an ad on Race Desert and WhiteBoysToys.com that was Will Trades Corvette for full size pre-runner, and someone hit and I got this thing from Jason Margette, that this Super Crew truck, this beam, it already had beams on it and stuff, and it looked like a great package. And so
Yeah.
I met him in Barstow, and then we like drove each other's stuff, and we're like, all right, cool, let's do this. And straight trade, no cash, nothing.
Yeah.
And I got that truck. I took it out 2 times. I damaged a lot of stuff on it. It was underbuilt. It wasn't built properly. And so I asked Gary, my stepdad, I said, hey, can I rebuild this at the shop? I'll work my 410s, because that's what we were doing then. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, can I use the shop to build this truck? He said, yep, you can't keep it inside. So I built this big cart, this structural cart for it that I had to pull it in with the forklift and pull it out. Every day I was working the weekdays. I'd like I'd walk by it and see it, and I'd fantasize about what I'm going to do on the weekend. And my work ethic was really good. So, I would go on the weekend and I would start rebuilding this truck. And I started with the front suspension and the cross member, and I literally built everything with a plasma cutter and a grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it like I said, committed. So 15-hour days, probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just grind, grind, grind.
While it was parked, how were you getting around?
That's a good question. I think I was getting rides. I didn't, or I was just I was borrowing a work truck from the shop. That's what it was, like one of the dualies or the diesel trucks with a flatbed on it. Yeah. We had a couple of those, just old, like they were sketchy configuration, like extra cab long bed dually, like just for towing a gooseneck.
Yeah.
So I was dailying that thing. And then that's what I ran into some life stuff. So my mom, like I always used to say, my mom, if my mom died, I'd kill myself or I'd take my life because I was so attached to her. So selfish to say. And I had Taylor and stuff, but it was just I think it was just my like concept of how important it was. That was the expression. I found out when I was working there. I remember my mom and Gary went up the coast or something. They came back down and she talked to me at the shop. I was working in the shop because that was my thing every weekend. Taylor would come down and hang out, and I'd be in the shop. And I found out my mom had cancer, and I didn't like. It was shocking to me. They hid it from me for a minute. They didn't tell me right away. Gary and my mom did not tell me right away. She's like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tell you and this and that, blah, blah. So she might have known for 2 months or something. And I think she wanted to give me some really stable answers on what was going on. And she's like, we're going to do some treatment, but they're going to need to do a scan or this and that. And then I remember we did everything out of, I want to say Hope. There's a place in Newport Beach. I think it's Hope. Whatever. The one that's in Newport, it's a Hogue.
Okay.
Hogue Hospital is where, like, I remember that was the first place we went to. Shortly after that, we go to the doctor, and where they do all the scans, and they sit you down in the room, and they tell you, like, what this is, what they're going to do, what are the odds. They do the spec sheet, right?
Almost like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, they just lay it. Doctors, the best part about a good doctor is they tell you exactly how it is, and that's what I value, and I value that kind of communication in life.
Yeah.
And just cut to it. Don't fucking waste my time. Don't waste your words. Let me know. So, thing is, with at least the experience we've had, is they do not shoot positive. They shoot like you said, worst case. So it was like, hey, there's cancer in the bowels. It's tied in. It's on the colon. We're gonna have to cut the colon sections of the colon out. We're gonna have to cut sections of this. She's gonna be on a colostomy bag, and all of this was crazy shit. And they're like, and we don't know if it's actually gonna go away, and this and that. And it sounded like it was terminal. I don't remember the details, but I know it was terminal. I knew at that point it was my mom was dying, and I remember being in the hospital, and then I got to the parking lot, and I was in my car, and I needed to drive home, and that was the point where my road rage stopped in my life, because I drove home in the state of tunnel vision. I want to fucking kill someone, just like a body is driving a car, and everything inside of me is losing its mind, because I was bawling for a minute in the parking lot. It's a multi-story thing. I could be over in the corner crying in the car. Nobody's going to see me. But when I got in there driving home, I had 50 minutes to drive home. And I remember just being on autopilot driving home, and I'm like, holy shit. And I remember coming to the realization, everybody's living such a different life. Like, if someone fucks with me right now, I'm going to fucking kill them. And I just thought about, it made me change my whole dynamic of road rage from that point on. And I went through other points of that afterwards. So, if you have questions, let me know.
I think you're good.
Okay, cool. So this is coinciding building this truck. And that's why I see this stuff in embedded levels of work and passion in me that is unique, where I stuck to that, and so I used that as fuel. I was not using as much. I still had an issue. So at night, sometimes I'd go home and I'd get something to drink or whatever, and I'd stay up till 2, and then I'd be done, and I'd start over again the next day. I wasn't trying to quit. It was just kind of my pattern. It's very solitary. And during this point, she had that surgery, and she did terrible. And so I spent 30 or 40 consecutive days at Hoag in the room with her, because she had complications. And then she went to the ECU, and it's my mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm here. I'm not.
Yeah.
This is it. And I so loyal to that because that was my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have a dad, and that was just, I didn't even know how to process if this was going to go south. I couldn't even understand
Yeah.
it. So it was close to work, so I could be in the hospital, go to work, come back. So she finally got out of there. We had to do chemo. I shaved my head, I shaved her head, and just to support her. And then the next thing is Taylor goes, "Hey, I'm pregnant with Logan." And this is still while I'm building the truck, right after the cancer thing. So at first, I hate it because I wasn't in a place to be embracing it, instead of being like, "Oh my god, awesome." We both were the people that never wanted kids. We both were the people that were like, "Fuck kids, we're not having kids. We're gonna be those people. We don't need to have kids, and I don't even want to be around kids."
Yeah.
Flashback to when I was 18, and I had to have a job up there at Northwest Academy, and I was a summer camp counselor in Sandpoint for the athletic gym for the center. And I'd take all 20 kids down to the beach and stuff at the lake and all that. And then I worked at another thing, something for youth or something, where it was problem kids that were like preschool kids, and I would help them. And I wanted to have 2 daughters when I was 18, but it faded off. So now fast forward, I was not as accepting, and instead of like being present and embracing this, I kind of ran from it. And I didn't say like fuck that, but I just ran from it. I wasn't. Now I look at it and I hate it. I don't hold it against myself, but just not how I would have done things. So I didn't. I even held off on talking and telling people for a little bit, and then we embraced it. Then it was, Taylor would be down there, and I'd be like working caging the truck, and she'd be in there and like spray painting the tubes and helping. And um, I moved. I moved into the Laverne house, and I was still, my thinking was just not good, because I was still using and drinking. And when you do that, you just don't have good thinking. It's just not clean. And you have to get time for your thinking to actually get decent. Like you can't, not just a
It
week.
doesn't just go away.
No.
No.
And so I don't like that version of myself. I hate it. And I'm not, when I say that, I'm not hard on myself. I'm not here with that. I don't carry that. But I just look back on it. I'm like, fucking, I hate it.
Almost just like cringe moments in your life.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what was I doing?
Yeah. And so some of those events, like I wasn't there for Taylor like I should have been, and I wasn't the partner that I should have been. And that's what bothers me the most now. As I look at it, I'm just like, man, I wasn't the supporting dad. I was just like caught up still, and my mom was struggling. I was more selfish about that. And so we ended up moving into the Laverne house. It was being rented for a while. The Laverne house was really special to us because that's where I grew up. Right, that's where I talked about all the schooling and all the people coming over. I lost my virginity in the tree house back there, and we moved back in there. My mom was like, "Hey, well, we're renting this. Do you want to like rent it, have a roommate, this and that?" So I had this girl Sarah living there for a minute, which made no sense. And then finally, I had Taylor move in. We were gonna have Logan there, and my mom was doing good. She was in chemo, and she did the chemo thing, and then it regressed. And then she, but she always had this colostomy bag. But she was a good sport. She didn't care. My mom was super involved with recovery and AA. So she was speaking. She was traveling, speaking.
Your mom's not with us anymore?
No, and I'll get there. I'm almost there. So that when I was growing up, my whole life, when I was younger, time spent with my mom, a lot of it was laying on her lap. My mom and my stepdad never slept in the same bedrooms. So I never even understood that people did that. And so I would go lay with my mom like at night, and she'd be talking to her sponsees, like just constantly. So that residual frequency of her talking was what made me go to sleep, And then I'd be spending time, like when I was young, in like the kitchen of a church or something, because she'd be at meetings, like religiously at meetings all the time. So I always grew up in the rooms of AA. I just didn't know it. And she came by. I'll tighten up the timeline a little bit. She came by when Logan was born, but he was not a year old. So we're somewhere in that vicinity. I think I'm 27.
Okay.
Came by the house. She drove a SSR, which is a retro-looking Chevy pickup truck. ugly kind of like fenders. Looks like an old 40s truck, but
Okay.
it's modern.
All right.
If you they're retro looking.
I mean, we could look it up.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's gonna hurt your eyes.
Really?
Yeah,
What
it's
do you?
just called a Chevy SSR,
Oh, I
or
know what
maybe
you're talking
Chevy
about.
SS.
No, I know exactly. HHR or something.
No, that's even uglier.
No?
Just do Chevy SS pickup truck.
SSR or SS?
Try an SSR. Something says it's an SSR. Yeah, that.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so she had a red one. They're hardtop convertibles. She never had it as a convertible form.
It's like a PT Cruiser for Chevy.
Well, it had a 6 liter in it, and it had a manual transmission. So kind of cool.
Is it inline six? Those six are fast.
No, 6 liter
Okay.
LS.
Oh, it's a big.
Yeah,
oh, wow,
V8.
that thing hauled ass.
So it was a cool little single cab truck.
Okay.
I think if you modified it, it would work. But regardless, she pulled up in that thing, and she like dropped. She brought some food to us. She brought the hat to us, and we were all out in the driveway working on stuff at the Laverne house. Dumped the clutch, did a burnout, left. And then the next day she had this recovery party in San Clemente. My stepdad's house was up on the hill, and it had a lot of glass. One whole side was glass, and you would look over the 5 freeway, and you could see Catalina Island, you could see San Clemente
wow.
Island. So it was built for sunsets, and the sun would come right in, every night. And so we would host there. He would host there, like parties. And so my mom had a recovery party. All of her friends were there. I don't know if it was for her birthday, like her AA birthday or not, but she indulged in a bunch of different food. And then overnight, that was Friday. By Saturday, she was in the hospital. She had extreme pain. She was in the hospital. And then it turned into she had a bowel obstruction right off the bat. And the doctor came in. They came from Hogue. They came down to San Clemente. And he said, hey, we weren't expecting this, but she has a bowel obstruction. The cancer is in there. It is the analogy was it is like melted cheese on noodles, and we cannot get it out. And now she will not be able to have any food or liquid, and she's just gonna go out in hospice right now. Boom, like that. Boom, done. End of it. And they had her on so many medications that she was never present enough to understand what was going on. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had to adjust right there. My stepfather, he's like, all right. And so they say she has 7 days, just from that point, 7 days max to live, because she can't have fluids or anything.
She's just gonna be in pain.
Yep. So they put her on a bunch of stuff, and then we got a hospice for the house, and the room I used to live in, which is her guest room, that turned into her room, and she was just in a bed, not a like a hospital bed, and she had a live-in hospice person that was just going to ease her death. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay there every day. The one thing we got before she did all that was we went up to like a Buddhist. She was friends with monks and like Buddhist monks, and so she had people up in Arrowhead that was like a chapel or whatever they would call that, a shrine or whatever.
Yeah.
And Logan took his first steps in there.
No way.
Yeah, and it was just a couple weeks before this whole thing, and so that's cool. We got a good memory,
Yeah.
core memory, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be here. I don't have a choice. So I slept in that room with her for the 7 days, and it was really tough because they said 7 days, and it ended up being like 45.
Oh wow.
And it was to the point where she was on this medication, and she was Morgan, and I love you, and this. But my mom was so organized. She was insane organized. Where she had this office with notepads and stickets everywhere and this and that. She was the term is my mom was wiping my ass until she died, right? Financially, my paycheck, she'd help me disperse that into this and student loans and taxes and all this stuff, and she helped me like that. She was doing my laundry, bringing it up, just like it was over love, because that's just who she was. And I look at it, I'm like, well, there's probably some tough love that needed to happen, but that was my mom. So if my mom would have known that she was dying, she probably would have had a heart attack just knowing that she was dying.
Mm-hmm.
Because she'd be like, oh, we got to get all this ready. I got to prepare you for this and this, and you're going to have to sign. She would have lost it. So on the other side of it, it's good she didn't have the concept. But it would turn into stuff where all of a sudden one day she'd feel good. and we'd be walking outside, and we'd go into the garden, and she'd, oh, I love this. She'd sit, and, and then some days she'd be ruined. And then it got, because she couldn't have food for the 45 days, and she barely could have liquid. And so then it turned into like the stuff that sucked. Then it was like, I wasn't working. I stayed there all day, every day. Her friends come by. I'd talk to them outside. Gary started drinking again. My stepdad, he was sober. He started drinking again. And same thing, we go out in the kitchen. The kitchen was the central headquarters, if we needed to reconvene and talk, and then we'd go see mom. And, he'd be out there, and he was pouring something one night. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, what's that? He's like, Morgan, I don't have any other option. He's like, this is just what I have to do, And I didn't say anything, and that's when he started boozing again. So when he was with my mom, he got sober. And so then it got to the point with my mom where he was carrying, she'd soil herself. She didn't have control, so then I'd carry her into the bathroom and I'd clean her. And then her spit would turn into hard balls, just little balls, and I'd clean up all her stuff. And she was just frail. My therapist, when I was seeing this guy back then, and he's like, Morgan, he's like, I suggest that you do not stay with her through this process, because the last memories you're going to have of her are going to stick with you forever. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to that, because that is bullshit.
I agree with that.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No, I remember that, but it sucks. But that wasn't who my mom was.
Yeah.
So
her last memories were of her son with her.
I never got clean.
Shit about
exactly. I kept her company, and we had a couple times where things would spike. So all of a sudden her heart rate would start going crazy, and then I'd make the calls and call like 20 of her friends, all in recovery, to come over, and we all stand around, we crying, saying goodbyes, and then she'd pull through. And we're like, dude. And so we'd all go through this process with her of holding her hand. I'd be laying in the bed with her, holding her, like crying into her face. And then she'd pull through. And she did that twice. And that's where I made the call. I go, hey, I got to go. I just can't keep doing this. And so I went back home, and I went to work. That's what I needed to do. I said, I need to just go back to work, because I can't keep ripping this. 2 days or something, or like 3 days, and then they call. I'm at work. They're like, Mom died. And I think she was there. She was like staying alive because I was there with her. So what that did, go ahead.
What was her name?
Diane. Di. Her name was Di for short. Everybody called her Di.
Her last name?
Clarke, Clarke, or Hordig, which was her married-in name.
I like to promote our fallen.
Yeah, all good. So we I got that call, and then I'm like, all right, and I drove home. I did a far commute, so I drove from Westminster to Laverne, and then I just remember crying and screaming for, I don't know, a couple days. Just crying and screaming, just like a fucking idiot, just wailing and then crying. And Taylor was holding me, and then I turned into. That's where I established a pattern of abuse with substance and alcohol, because instead of riding that pain out, the best way for humans to go through something is to white knuckle the pain and to deal with it head on, and to learn how to deal with it, whatever that looks like, without putting any kind of material, flesh, or substance fix into there. No. That's how to do it. And it's like, just bite the bullet. And I didn't. I remember, I turned into a little hermit in the office in a dark room, blacked out with, a computer or something and a TV in there. And I would come out to have someone drop something off to me, or to go get some alcohol, and go back in for, a couple weeks. And Taylor's mom had to watch the baby, and it was something I'm not proud of, and that was what I did to deal with it, but I wasn't actually dealing with it. What it was doing was establishing a pattern. And anytime I was in pain or discomfort, I could supplement.
Almost like just pushing away the fact that you had to deal with it, just push it away.
It's a pause. That's how any abuse, like substance or alcohol, is. It's just pause. It's a reality pause. And
Speaking of pause,
Yep.
we're at 2 hours. I need to reset the camera,
All good.
and I want to go right back into this.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean
Oh,
to.
you're good. It's just as important for you to share.
Okay, so yeah, so my family was split up at a very young age. I have I have three sisters from different dads, and my brother's from a different dad. So we all are somewhat not only children, but we have each other.
Mhm.
And so we were all taken away when we were, I was like, I don't know, 11, 12, whenever it first happened. So whenever you talk about losing your mom, it weighs heavy with me because my mom was never, I didn't really have access to her.
Mm.
She was around, but there was no connection really there. There was just I don't even know how to explain it. So whenever you speak about losing her, it like breaks me down because I don't know if it terrifies me to think about losing my mom because I feel like I didn't really ever get her.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's it's almost like a terrifying. I don't want it to. I don't know how I'm gonna react.
What about your dad?
He never really he kind of made it clear that he didn't really want that. You know what I mean? So I never really was.
Like he didn't want a family dynamic.
He was never around.
Oh, okay, got it.
And whenever I would try to go around,
Mhm.
I remember one time my mom bringing me to his house with bags of groceries and
Mhm.
set me on his doorstep and was knocking on the door and then he jumped out the window and just took off running.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
So there's a couple weird stories like that, but after they took us away, I ended up stuck with him.
Yeah.
They dropped me with him and we did not get along.
Mhm.
But going back to your mom, I appreciate you sharing these stories. It weighs heavy on my heart. And whenever you talk about her being told that she was never going to have a child, there's a story in the Bible where Sarah was told that she was never going to have a child. God blessed her with a child. And what I've noticed is a pattern of unique events that happen throughout your life, which makes me think that there's something special about you. I don't know really what I'm trying to get at, but I think that a lot of people are no, but I don't know. I've never met anybody who's been through something like you've been through. This is crazy, to be honest. I don't mean any disrespect or
Mhm.
anything by it, but it's very it's a heavy on me. I'm I don't
You
know.
want more?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I got more. So that just established a thing. We were living in that Laverne house. Death happens. Uh, the ability for me to show up as a father or a partner falls out. Right, I'm there, but I'm not there. Takes me a bit to get out of that room.
Yeah.
Once I get out of that room, I start to get back on my feet to go to work. Gary owns the house that we're in. Gary's back drinking.
How was your guys' relationship at this point?
Uh, it gets bad. So it gets stops getting like it was. We fall apart kind of, but I'm doing the best I can. But the best I can looks like being late every day to work, missing 2 or 3 days in a row and not saying anything. Being enabled where I come back and I beg for my job back. Knowing that I am built to be doing something else, but I'm not capable to even know what that is because I'm just sabotaging myself over and over. And then in the mornings, Gary would do not artistic. He would do verbal diarrhea. So he would come in and say, blah blah. If we're losing the business, this and that. He would love to vent like that. He would blah, and then he'd pick it back up. But I was the first guy, so he'd be like, we're kicking you out of your mom's house, and you guys are going to be on the streets, and I can't afford it, and this and that, and blah blah, and you're going to have to figure some stuff out. And he'd just do that. Then by lunch, he'd be like, you want some Chick-fil-A? And it was this thing. And then I drive, every day I drive home, and I'm doing stuff in the garage. I'm fabricating motorsport stuff in the garage, and we're barely paying our bills. And almost every night I'm drinking and I'm partying, just until 2 or 3, and then or maybe 1:30 or something.
When you say partying, were you with friends and stuff, or were you
Yeah.
just doing it by yourself?
Yeah, it started like that. Yep. In those days, yeah, it was the garage. I had the garage.
Just
So,
garage stuff.
yep. Pre-runner in the garage, fabrication, grinding, welding,
Yeah.
partying, music. We had seniority in our neighborhood, so we lived in a street where the driveway was only 10 yards long, and it was a busy street, but we had seniority, so anybody who was complaining about what we were doing or how we were doing it could be quiet. We had a 110 track in the backyard, that we used a mini excavator to build and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we had wild. That period was very wild. It was very loose and party, and I was there for Logan, but not all the way there. Like, he was riding on the dirt bike, on the pit bike with me, and I was holding him and this and that, but I wasn't. When I say I wasn't there, I wasn't able to completely embrace the present moment of life, of peace and love with him.
Because you were inebriated, you were just like not there.
Yeah, I was checking out, or I was on either starting to use or done using or coming off.
Or just didn't you have your emotions weren't even like you?
I was
didn't
not
have
in
them.
touch.
Yeah.
And I wasn't optimal, and I know that, and I just was doing the best I could. But on the other end of this, I knew that I had more to contribute to the world. I just couldn't get any further than that concept. So at some point, I was building the pre-runner, and this was a year back from this, and I went to go get these tie rods bent for the steering, and I didn't have a bender that could do it. And Jamie Campbell at Raceco did it, and he saw what I was. He knew I was working for Gary, and we kind of had we knew Gary mutually, and he's like, "When are you gonna stop building like handrails and stairs and come build cool stuff for me?" And he'd always joke with me like that, and I never took it serious. And finally, one day with Gary, he's like, "Morgan, we're not doing this anymore. You can't do this. You keep, you're not showing up consistently. You're dropping the ball. You're hurting the business. Like, you got to find somewhere else." And I remember, like, I sat in the parking lot of Gary's shop. I called Jamie and go, "Hey, is that an open? Can I come work for you?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on down, this and that." And then that was my first job, like building motorsports vehicles.
What were you doing?
First,
Because you went from structural, which is
Mhm.
not artistic at all, but there is something artistic about.
Well,
race
I did
cars.
structural and architectural. So
Okay.
most of I went from structural into the architectural side with Gary's shop, where I had a mentor that was old nuclear guy, and he taught me all my TIG welding. He taught me absolute foundational ways of doing things. Proper full pin stuff. I got all LA certified for all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And he taught me TIG welding fundamentals, and then I did so much metal blending out of my mind. And so now I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's why I do it.
Ah, I got you.
It's part of my toolbox.
Gotcha.
So I was still building stuff at the house. I was around that same period of time. Light bars were a big deal on trucks, like the LED windshield bars.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was fabricating brackets, and that was my hustle. Every weekend, I'd line up like 2 or 3 trucks, and I'd be in the driveway all day long building these custom stainless light bar brackets to put on lifted trucks, pre-runner trucks, stock trucks. Who cares? $250 or something, each hit. So I could make $750 in a weekend if I wanted, and I thought that was really good money.
Yeah.
So, and then a lot of that was just to try to pay the bills, and I was barely making it for work. But the first thing I did down at Jamie's is I did the first version of shock mounts for Mike Lanieri's F100, which is the red and black truck that RJ built, the F100. That was, he rehabbed that truck from when it rolled.
It was blue before.
It was blue, and I was the one that built most of that truck when it was blue at Raceco.
Okay.
And I remember that. That was a very valuable time, because I remember building these rear shock mounts, and they were plate, and they tied into 2 tubes, and they had some through tubes in them that were welded, and it was like machining the spacers and this and that. And Jamie was so like kind and like nourishing with how he taught and his patience levels. So I remember holding that shock mount. I go, man, I can get paid to do something that I love to do. Holy shit. Like, wow, this is cool. I get to do something cool and get paid for it. Changed my whole dynamic.
It's crazy because when you went to school, you went to do all this stuff, but then like it's just the stuff that you were doing in your garage that led you to be where you're at.
Well, it was building that truck on the side.
That
truck was it.
That truck.
Yeah, that truck was named Beth.
You know what's funny is I typed in F100. That's what.
What in the Chat GPT is that thing though?
Dude,
It looks like a Datsun F100.
Dude, I was so irritated, and then they said like F100 up here. And
Yeah,
I was like,
you got to tone it down on something. You got to tell them what not to do a lot of times.
yeah, it's crazy.
That truck Beth was like, that's when I started Instagram. The guy I used to know, Johnny Branch.
That's not that long ago.
2013.
Yeah. Okay.
2013.
Okay, so it was
2013 is when I started Instagram because this guy Johnny Branch. I used to go on forums and I was on like Desert Rangers and Race Desert and Desert Rides.
yeah.
And I had my build posts on there and F-150 owners forum and all that. And I had like Beth Beam Super Crew. It's still up on some of those, and that's where I posted. Just on the weekend on Sunday night, I took all these pictures because in Art Center I did a design process book that they wanted for a lot of projects where you take a picture of every step of your process, and then you like sketch the tools that you used, and then you put a book together for that process. So that was a natural thing for me to share on the forums, as I had step by step, like, dude, I had 26-page build post, all these pictures, and it was my thing. Every Sunday I'd get home, I'd check in.
What gave you that idea to do that?
I just wanted to share.
Okay.
Yep. And Branch goes, he hits me up and he's like, hey, do you know what Instagram is? I go, no, I have no clue what that is. He goes, it's just where you share pictures. He's like, I think what you're doing, he's like, people might want to see it. Might be a good idea. And I tried it, and I started getting traction because people just loved. All I want to do is share my process, and that's all I did. I just shared stages.
He's a good follow too. You guys go follow Johnny Branch.
Yeah, and he's kind of reclusive now, but he's always been an OG.
Yeah.
He's about 2 miles from me, and he recommended that, and I just started sharing it, and it was nice. It was. I didn't need the validation or the acceptance, but I was like, oh man, I'm doing something cool, and that's how Jamie saw my work.
Yeah.
And that's what that truck gave me a running, driving digital portfolio of a finished vehicle right there, boom, done, that I built on my own. And so I could take that places, and people knew the truck, and if I went to the grocery store or whatever.
In this process, was it in your back of your head, like, I'm taking the steps to build my brand?
Nope.
Like, no, okay.
Nope, all natural. Yeah, it was
You just wanted to build cool shit.
I wanted to build a badass truck for myself. It didn't have that good of parts on it because I couldn't afford the parts. All I could afford was nice fabrication because I could do it.
Because you could do it. That's how it all starts.
Yep. And so I got that going. I was working at Raceco, and I was still struggling. That was the thing. I was commuting in that truck. I was commuting the big full-size beam truck from, Laverne to Avery Parkway off the 5, South County, Aliso Viejo area every day. And
how did it get wrecked?
The truck?
Yeah.
It didn't get wrecked.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the blue truck still. My bad.
No. Well, that Mike rolled it or
You're
whatever.
talking about yours.
My truck, yeah. So that was my thing. I was going down there. I was working for Jamie, and I was still partying. And I remember, I don't know if it was when I turned 30 or something. I think it was when I turned 30, but I clicked a birthday the night before, and I came in late, and I was hungover and trying to pick up my pieces. I remember, I used to roll with this big tool bag that had all my stuff in it, like all my air tools
and shit.
Yeah. And I remember I snaked through its shop because it was always kind of packed. And I remember I was like 2.5 hours late, and I was pretty shameless about that. I would show up late, and I kind of knew that I was skilled enough where I'd get away with it. And I remember I tripped. Everybody was standing there working, and they weren't like looking at me, but they could see me. And I was shuffling outside the car, and on my 30th birthday, I was fucking hungover, and I tripped, and I spilled all the bag of tool, cling, ting, 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 cling, everywhere, and people are laughing, and whew,
shame got you,
dude. Yeah, and I just remember the struggle. Why am I here? What am I doing? And that turned into my life working at fab shops. I was so good and so fast and so unreliable. And so what it would do is, and I see that now, and I don't say that with confidence or ego, but like I had a talent, and I had a work ethic that was built from Art Center and built from working structural steel. Structural steel, hurry up. Is it done yet? The foreman comes out there. Is it done? Where's it? Hurry up. Finish this. What are you doing? Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
Yeah, one little bubble in that weld ruins the whole part.
Whatever. It's about how fast you could do it.
Yeah.
And so you were always, people were telling you that. Hurry up. What's taking so long? You building watches? You're not building watches. Hurry up. And
I hate that about fabrication because you can do so much better if you focus, like your mind is, if you can just build the way you want to, I think it always comes out better. But if you're sitting there rushing.
Yeah, but that's custom fab.
Yeah,
if you're reading drawings, you can hurry. You can run fast.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you're running efficiently, you walk fast, you move fast. So I had a pre-programmed thing from Art Center and from that where I was fast. And I made it a thing, and I think I also had an ADHD where I was chasing instant gratification at the highest level. So whatever I was doing, if I'm notching a tube, I want that fucking thing in there, and I want to see it, and I want it fast. And the faster I can do it, the faster I can see it done, so I can get to the next thing. Like that was how I worked, like with a vengeance. So my value, even though I was shifty, if I was being late or I was missing a day or missing 2 days. It was an extreme, and now when I look at it from a business owner perspective, extremely frustrating position to be in as a business owner with an employee, because you want this guy. He's really good. He's got a good personality or whatever. You can talk to him.
It's almost like having a flat tire.
Dude, well, I don't know if it's having a flat tire, but it's
Just
something because when I would come in, I'd make up. So like, if I might have been gone 2 days, but the 3 days that I work for you, I'm going to get 2 weeks worth of work done.
Okay.
So it's a profitable thing still, but it's frustrating because you can't depend on me.
Dependence. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that was like that. And it sucked because I started, I worked for Jamie, and finally he's like, dude, you can't do this. It's hurting my business. Like, I keep planning for you to be here these days. And now I totally understand it. Yeah, man, you need to fire me for sure. And then I go to like work at H&M for Kevin. Same deal. Start off good. I think I'm going to have it. I'm not going to mess this one up. And then, of course, it starts, the pattern and being late and missing and being inconsistent and unreliable, but still being a good fabricator, and that gets to a point. And, these guys, all these people that I've worked for, except Ryan, like all of them have been extremely like helpful to me and like understanding.
You were drinking still, like hard alcohol
every day.
To deal with, were you like waking up and stuff doing it? Or
remember I told you.
You said that, but I'm asking at this point.
Never in my whole career.
But
never.
It was just at night you would
on the way home I'd be drinking. I'd be drinking a bottle on the way home.
It was just it was still depression from your mother?
I think it just turned into a pattern.
Just a habit.
I'm going to catch a buzz on the way home, and I'm going to party in the garage, and then I'm going to go sleep, and then I'm going to be late. I'm going to do it over again.
And it just became natural.
Pattern. Yeah. And so, like I said, never in my career, ever, would I ever use or drink or do anything. I never did. And I don't know if I could. It would, my brain, like the way I need my brain versus what that would do to my brain, I couldn't cook the eggs on the skillet. So you didn't want your
craft to be like drugged down? Like
I don't think I could even process.
Yeah.
I think it would have been messed up.
Oh, really? So that's totally different then.
Yeah. So the that continued, and then it turned into like, I got offered another job, down in Westminster, working for another guy, and it was the speed. I came in to do a roll cage on the weekends, and he's like, bro, what do you need to get paid? Like, you're fast, and so hired me on, gave me like $10 more or something, maybe $5 more right off the bat, and then went to 10 and working, same thing, and then I just start falling out. Same deal. I'm sleeping in my car. He's knocking on the window in the yard of the shop the next day, and I'm there, and I'm just running from life, and doing the best I can. We were living at Taylor's grandparents' house. We got kicked. So that was the thing. The Laverne house.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys get kicked out?
When I stopped working for Gary, he didn't fire me.
Okay.
He fucking kicked us out of the
house. No way.
He said, "You guys are
because he kept talking."
You know what they did? They came and they put a for sale sign in the yard. Not unbeknownst, someone all of a sudden Taylor's like there, and I get home from work or something. She's like, "You see that
newborn son?"
Yeah. So my mom died when Logan was 1 week from being 1 year old. So, the last. So how she did that thing where she almost died twice. She had the spiked heart rate and everything.
It came back, yeah.
The last time I was doing that, she was cognizant enough of the one thing she said. She held my hand, and she had a couple like little things like this. Mm-hmm. She's like, Morgan, do something with your art. Boom. So she had a little closure. She had just enough to say that. And that was the last thing she ever said to me. Ever.
That's dope.
Pretty cool. And so Gary kicked us out. That was the deal. And then, I had some falling outs with Taylor and stuff. So I was living in Pomona, and then she was living in Montclair, and then we ended up moving back in with her grandparents, and we didn't have a means for. I was working at a fab shop. We didn't have a means for how we were going to move anywhere or what we were going to do. And then I got this job offer, so scoot this thing up to like 2018.
Okay.
I got this job offer from Ryan Kibbe Tech,
Mm-hmm.
and a guy, this other guy that was working in the office for him, and Ryan would always message me, come work for me, come work for me, come work for me, and everybody told me, don't go work for Ryan, don't.
How
Just don't.
come? I've heard that before.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to muddy anything.
But I'm gonna say again, go follow Kib too. I like he builds cool stuff.
I'm not going to say that.
Oh well, okay.
But you can say that.
I'll say it because I just aesthetically pleasing, but I don't know
At this
anything
point, I
about
have personal issues with him,
That's fine.
and that's all going to be a in-face confrontation. So
Okay.
the deal with that is it turned into like come work for me, and I was nervous because I'm like, I can't weld like that, like I don't know how to do that, and he's like, I can teach you, and everybody's like, don't work for him. It was something like once you become his employee, you will not be his friend, or something, right? Whatever. And okay, and they offered me this great thing, and I got, they helped me get a little house, a rental. So they made a lot of promises that were promising for my future, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the jump. Problem with Gibby is he's like way out in Ventura County, in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
So it's 77 miles from where I was living. So I'm out of the area. I remember he let me stay in his house for like a week or something, and it was cool, and again, taught me a bunch of stuff, learned a new foundation of fundamentals for high-end work there. I got a lot from it. I built my first dash there, did a lot of tan work there.
Okay.
But we just same patterns started, inconsistent.
With you?
Yeah. Just being inconsistent, being late, but still showing up and handling work and staying late and handling work. And we had some fallouts, and I don't even need to be in specifics about it, but there was some instances that happened where I said, I am never going to work for someone ever again in my fucking life, no matter what. It wasn't about like F you, this, that. No, just I'm done here. I'm older than this guy. I don't know what I'm going to do next or how I'm going to do it, but I am never going to work for someone ever again.
You're just building their empire.
Whatever. It would just, I when I was younger, doing work in the garage, I used to have this guy come over that I'd party with, and he would say, Morgan, you need to run your own shop. You should have your own shop. But I had no means to do that because I was tripping over my own feet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Around this time, I was still working on, I'm trying to get clean for whatever, a couple years. I can get a week or a couple days and just fall on my face again. And it was tough because for that first amount of time, I needed to move in to work over at Ryan's. But Taylor and Logan needed to finish his schooling out in Claremont, so I could only pick him up on the weekends. So I'd find myself at the bottom of a bottle, on the weekdays, just picking up the pieces. And what it does is it's a torrential downpour on your confidence, because I'm making a commitment almost every day. Hey, I'm not going to do this tonight, right? Like I'm promising to myself, I'm not going to do this tonight. And then, and at night, I would go, and on the way home, I pick a drink or something. And
Like you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm not doing it.
we're not doing this.
Donut.
And I would do that insanity for 300 times.
And then somehow you just drive the same route home, follow yourself.
And just do the same deal.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right. Your mind convinces you. It's insane. So by the evening time, I'm like, no, that sounds good, dude. Like, it'll be, and then the regret and the shame,
same thing happens.
regret, shame, guilt, and going into a work environment where, there's ego and shit talking and all that. Like, it's not conducive, and it's not a place to recover. So I was just doing that, and then I'd see my family on the weekends and do the best I could, and I'd be there for them, and be clean and all that stuff. And I just was tripping on myself over and over. And I was at that point, I had some hopelessness where I was like, I don't know if I can ever get a hold of this. This sucks. Like I would remember being laying on the couch, and in the late hours of the night, like, dude, I don't know if I can ever stop doing this. I don't know. And and I had this thing that I never gave up on myself. So I kept trying, over and over. So
That's got to be such a like I don't know, like
defeating,
yeah, like
defeating.
just realizing like what the hell do I do?
Yep. And it was something I remember because now I'm so clear where I'm like, man, I used to, if I was talking to you, I was still doing good work.
Yeah.
And I lost myself in the work because I would show up and I'd be there and I'd be doing, and I'd put my all into the work. And a lot of it was because I was also running from like my discomfort of what else I was doing in life. The work was what I leaned into, you know, as every job I had that's what I was doing. I was doing the best I could every day. So fast.
Almost like you can maybe I'm just comparing my own feelings to what you're saying, but almost like you know that you can create goodness, but you were born like uh in a place where most people would think that you can't or something like almost like you feel so bad inside that you want to produce something good on the outside like no, I am good. I am good. Watch me.
Yeah, something like that. I don't think it was proving to anybody, but I had a craft that I could indulge in, that I found an escape doing.
Yeah.
Rewind.
It rewinds it like erases it like shakes your etch a sketch for a bit where
Yeah.
you're clear minded.
So rewind to when Logan was 2 years old. I was working for Gary still.
Okay.
I forgot about this. I wasn't able to pay my phone bill, and my phone was turned off. So I didn't have a phone, and I drove home from work. And when I got home from work, so the pool outside in our Laverne house, it had a gate, but Logan loved to play in the pool, and we had a leak, so we'd leave the hose there because we had to we couldn't fix it, so we just fill up the pool, add more chlorine,
Yeah.
and every day or something. So I drive home and I pull up the neighbors waving at me. George is like, hey, and she's like, Pomona Valley. They're at Pomona Valley. I'm like, what do you mean? Logan, he drowned in the pool. I'm like, okay. And he drowned in the pool?
Like he's dead?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. And I just straight over. Like I said, my phone's off. Straight over to Pomona Valley. 2 Laverne Police Department officers in the emergency room. I'm gonna kill Taylor. No, I'm gonna kill Taylor.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not able to be how I should be. My impulsive, shitty thinking is like,
oh wow,
this woman just killed my son. So I go in there and I immediately get stopped by the officers because I'm on a anger streak.
You're on one.
Yep, and I'm sober and clean at this point. So I go in there, and I mean just for the day or whatever. Like I hadn't drank or anything on the way home or none of that.
Okay, just at that point in the day.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you're probably still hot though. Like
oh no, I'm completely intact. Where I'm like I'm gonna lose it, and then I go in there and Logan's fully hooked up. I get through the process. I talk to one of the officers outside, and they get me back down to pace. And then Logan's in there, and he's in the ER, and he's hooked up. He's got all the shit, unresponsive. And Taylor talks to me, and she says that water under the bridge of how it happened, but he got pushed in the pool or he fell in the pool somehow. She found him. It was a long enough period later where he was blue, unresponsive, lips big, no heartbeat. Nurse comes from across the street. She's screaming and crying and calling. Nurse comes. They're trying to pump him. I want to say the cops come first. They're trying to pump him. CPR. Nothing's getting him. I think the fire department got him going. And then he ambulanced to Pomona Valley. They're like, this is critical. He needs to go to Loma Linda. So I'm chasing the ambulance in a truck while he's in there going to Loma Linda kids hospital or whatever. And then he's in this deficit where he's what happens is when that happens to you, your brain swells. And when your brain swells is when brain damage, if you have trauma to your brain and it swells, then that's where the damage comes in. And what they're saying is that, they had him in a coma, and he's, like I said, he's got everything hooked up. He's in the most insane gear ever in this bed. And at this point, we're just along for the ride. Everybody's coming by, and they're like, we're putting him in this coma. And the medical team, there's a neurology team that is saying, they come in and they're wearing like coats and notepads and nice outfits, and it's a big team. And they're like, hey, unfortunately, this is how it goes. That he was sustained, without breathing or whatever for this long, and he was underwater for X amount of time, and he is going to be mentally handicapped no matter what. You just need to pray for how severe it is. And I'm like, oh my God. Because when I was younger, I was like an asshole. I was making fun of retarded kids at McDonald's that were wearing helmets and elbow pads. And I'm thinking about all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, the karma or something coming back. We're going to have this disabled kid I'm thinking about not the judgment of it. I'm thinking about the pain he's going to go through being challenged, right? Like of those kids, like how he's going to people making fun of him or what's going to happen, because that's what they said that he's just, no matter what, he's going to be mentally handicapped, and that's just how it's going to be. We're going to put him in, he's in this coma to keep him level, and then when they pull him out, that's when we're going to see how much. And I'm talking to everybody, and people are praying, and there's prayer circles, and there's all this stuff that goes to round 2 of that night. The only one person could stay the night in the hospital.
Oh man, that's rough.
So I'm in the car again, and I am screaming and crying,
running your shit.
No, just screaming and crying. Not I probably should have, but I'm just sitting there, just asking whys and stuff. And then I don't know how else to deal with it. And so I go back in there the next day, and they're gonna ease him out of this coma thing. And my buddy Dingo is there. He was like Logan's close homeboy too, where he would come over. He was the pit bike local, so he'd come to our house almost every day, and he'd rip the pit bikes with us.
Yeah, for sure.
And he knew that's how Logan knew Dingo, because we were always on pit bikes. And so Dingo's laying there, and they pull him out, and they pull him out, and the first thing, Dingo's right there, and he's talking to his ear, and then he goes, Dingo, dirt bike, brum, brum, and he like makes the noises and stuff, and it's super cognizant, where I'm like, no way, and he doesn't see Dingo, he just hears him in his ear. So what happened, like, long story short in that, is that same neurology team came in, and they said that Logan is a medical miracle. They said that this is very rare, and he has 0% brain damage from all the testing and everything. They can see that he's completely normal, and it's a miracle. And they don't get to say it that often, and this is what it is. And the whole hospital knew it, and so like he recovered all the way.
This is exactly what I was just saying. There's something special about whoever you are, or whatever you're doing. You have a burden upon you that I don't think most people are willing to embrace.
I understand something like that, and I'm going through bouts of different life pain these days, but so that's when he was 2. So now we're fast forwarding, right? He's
how old is he now?
He's 12. So
he ride bikes.
He does. He loves racing BMX. That's his thing, but he still hasn't kind of found his exact groove. He's his own thing, but
he spent time with you in the shop.
Not as much as Enzo, our other son.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's still, like, yesterday we changed the starter and the coil, pulled the tire, pulled the inner fender on my wife's car. He helped me with that. It was good. So he's just moving at his own pace. But regardless, fast forward. So I'm working at Kippy's. We get a vacation. We go to Yosemite. I want to say like Memorial or Labor Day or something, towards the end of summer. Go to Yosemite, and it's the Monday is a holiday, and I come back on Tuesday, and Ryan asked me like finish something at the end of the night. He's like, hey, nothing personal. I got to let you go. Obviously he's done that more times than I've experienced on my end.
You were still in your patterns?
Yeah.
So did you think that had anything to do with it?
I think being inconsistent costs business owners money at the end of the day. He was paying me good.
Okay.
Straight up.
Mm-hmm.
it did I like him then? No, there was lines crossed that I'm not bringing up right now that had to do with, just there was things said by his girlfriend that were irreversibly damaging to my family, and there was nothing done about it. There's no accountability and blah blah blah. So on my end of ownership on stuff, there was it. I think he was in a financial spot where paying me what he was paying me, and then me not being able to show up consistently and being late, and then on top of that, now I have a beef with you and your girlfriend. Just makes sense.
Just too much
Cut
scar
trim
tissue.
that, yeah. So that was a gift. When I was so mad when it happened, I was not emotionally intact. I was so fucking pissed. I told him, I'm gonna make you pay, dude. Fucking, you want to do this? Like, I'm gonna make you pay. And that was my level of.
You guys had those conversations? Like you guys were like that?
So that's his face.
Really? Oh, okay.
I had more of
So
that.
you guys had a blowout.
I had a blowout before that, and like I said, there was stuff mentioned. There was, like I said, the drowning and stuff got brought up, and his girlfriend said some stuff to my girlfriend, and there was some serious.
That's why we.
There was some stuff where like people should be stabbing each other.
Yeah, let's just go ahead.
So
and move on.
no, but we're good. So what I'm getting at, let me take ownership of my part.
Yeah. Okay.
Not optimal. I was getting paid a lot, and I was not dependable,
Mhm.
right? And on top of that, there's drama. There's internal affair drama. So he cut me on the Tuesday after whatever the holiday was. It was the first day of first grade for Logan in this new school. We just moved. The family just moved because he was done with school at the other place. It was a big week for us. We just moved all the animals into our foreign zone out there in Thousand Oaks. So I'm in survival mode. I don't know what to do. And I am on a rampage. I'm calling people, and then I'm talking to, business owners, and I got to figure out what I'm doing, because in the back of my head, I told myself I'm not going to work for anybody. That was there.
Yeah.
So I was already doing side work up at Evan Weller's shop, and, I was going up.
Another good follow.
Yep, Evan Weller, solid. I was going up there, and he was having me do side work. So I'd work at Ryan's because they cut my hours back a bit. And so I needed the cash. So I'd go up after work and I'd work at Evans and go on the weekends or whatever. So I kind of had a leg in. I weigh all this stuff out, talking about, working at different shops and different people. And I don't want to do that. So the safest thing was Evan told me, hey, I can float you some work until you can figure things out or start your own thing or whatever you want to do, which was great. He paid me decent, and I was doing all the super high-end sheet metal stuff for him or whatever required my skill set. So by Thursday, I made up my mind that that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go up to Evans, and I'm going to take on sheet metal and stuff like that, and that's where my stuff started.
So I was just talking to a friend. He films stuff, and I was like, Morgan's coming on. The way he builds, I know that he's got some stuff in his brain that's different than other people, because you do build differently than most people.
Yeah.
Your tin work is your aluminum work or whatever. I don't really know, but you is this where that passion started, right? Like why is that stuff so important to you?
That's just progression of fabrication. So I used to be really inspired by Matt Walrath. I don't know if you remember that
I don't
name.
even know who that is.
Okay, so back in the day, Matt, I don't know what you'll find. You might want to do Matt Walrath fabrication work or something, but he's a bit reclusive, and he used to build stuff. He used to be on the forums, and some of his stuff was like ultimate backyard Chevy pre-runner, and there was like some notable cars he was working on.
That red one?
Red one.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was only red when it was done, but it had intensive tin work and badass plate work, and if you already know what that is, no, it's none of that. So the do you have Instagram on there?
Mm-hmm.
If you look up Matt Walrath, and I say that because I don't have a inspirational, like a big handful of inspirational fabricator guys. But Matt was the one for me, just one L. Rath, R-A-T-H, right there. So he probably still has stuff up. Okay. So if you start looking at more of the complex fabrication, like the sanitary level and the plate work,
yeah,
like in the presentation and stuff. That was the only guy that ever did it for me.
Yeah, I see you DA grind or sand everything,
Well, a lot of
which
people do.
I don't think that most people do. I think they skip over that,
Yeah.
and that puts like like a tone of
Yeah.
comfort, or like what is that, textured across the whole thing?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
a,
it
an
mutes
equal,
everything.
yeah.
So that's the one guy. See, 512 weeks ago. So Matt's just like he's not on social media anymore. But that was the one guy, because people always ask me like,
That's
who's your
nuts.
inspiration? And it's just been that, or it's been like aviation and military aircraft and stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the beginning.
So the sheet metal has just been a progression. I didn't have anybody teach me. I didn't have any mentorship or anything. I learned, and that's the thing with my life is
I feel like I could tell how much you love it, though. I feel like you focus a lot on that. Like,
well, I take on jobs that make sense. You know,
explain what that means.
I've built the whole. So when I started working at Evans, then it turned into something where he's like, hey, he could bring work in, and it got off to probably started bad because he's like just bring the work, and I think he might not have known what was going to happen. He's like, just have him drop the car off, just bring the work, just stack it up, just keep it in the chamber. So it got busy, and I started stacking work, and then it turned into I needed to rent space next to him and rent my own space and stack work, and everything I did, I only would post and build stuff that I wanted to do again.
Oh, interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would never like, cool skid plate for this bumper, cool
Yeah.
tire rack, because first off, I'm probably not going to build that. I don't find any interest in building it. And I know that every time I've built something, I get another one. It's at a minimum, every time we build something, we get one more or we get multiple.
Yeah.
So the Kevin Costner movie Field of Dreams. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
The motto was, if you build it,
They'll come.
Yeah. And that's been my whole thing. If I build it, they will come, and it's been that way nonstop with no breaks. And that's the same thing. So with things that I find value in, that's what I end up building, and then the value that brings is another job that's similar. So if I was just posting bumpers on my Instagram page, then I would get more bumpers.
More bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do trucks?
I want to do the highest level of fabrication.
Yeah.
No, I don't care if it's a truck or a minivan or a go-kart or whatever. Just I like premium fabrication.
Do most of these builds is that just your creative vision, or do people like tell you like no, I want it this, and this, and then you just come up with the concept afterwards?
It's been a blessing where we started small, and that's the thing. I used to want a full build. That was the story. Like around 2020, 2019 is when I started doing my own thing. 2020 is when we established the LLC, and that was still, we were living in that little house. It was COVID. It was great. There was no traffic. Oh my gosh, I was just driving to work, and that was. Those were those days. We were renting a car for Taylor. We didn't have any credit. We didn't have any transportation, and so she would
renting a car like every week,
every 2 weeks.
Damn.
And we were living in this little rental house that was the same when I was working over at Ryan's. They didn't care for it. It was old. It didn't have any insulation. It had a swamp cooler in the living room that leaked like a sieve, so it was like puddles. So the couch was pulled away from that, and then the towels down on the ground because it was leaking internally.
Yeah.
And there was no insulation, so it was so hot. And so we, she got pregnant with Enzo. That's our COVID baby. And it was at the point where like we were sleeping on an air mattress in the living room I'd put cold towels on her intermittently throughout the night because she was overheating all the time, pregnant. And then on top of that, we didn't have a car, so she was giving me a ride to the shop every day. Giving Logan, getting Logan to school or whatever.
Bro, she sounds like an OG.
She is an OG. And then she would pick me up at night. And every time when she was on her way there, I'd clean up religiously. I'd clean up the whole shop in my mess every night. She'd wait for me. And then a lot of the time, if I started borrowing a truck, and then I didn't have a computer, so I would go to the Kinko's FedEx down the street every week, and I would invoice. I'd sit and I'd rent, I'd get the card and I'd rent, and I'd put invoices in on the computer until I could afford to get a MacBook. And that was 2020.
Damn, dude.
And then
That's some ambition. Like I wouldn't even have that would never go through my head.
I didn't even think it was ambitious. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know how else to do it. I got to run the business. Like I'm starting, and that's why I say I've learned everything the hard way. I had no structure of human to give me insight or advice. Like
Yeah.
the circle I run with now are amazing individuals that are. I have a small circle, but they're very people I admire that are all successful. That I can say, hey, I'm having an issue. Hey, this is going on. What should I do? Hey, this. I didn't have any of that, and I don't think I was even open to having that.
Yeah.
So I ran. That kick.
That's an important point that you just made.
What's that?
That we might not be open to those opportunities a lot because we're so self-destructive.
Exactly. And so I white knuckled sobriety for 11 and a half months when I got that kick from Ryan. I was like, I can't mess this up. I'm going all in. I can't mess this up.
At that point, you've been with so many big companies. Where else you ain't got much?
Well, everything rode on the fact that I needed to start doing work on my own and like running this thing. So I just that first step got me sober. Where I just no matter what I'm doing this, I'm all in. And I was working a lot of long days. So going back to creative liberties on cars, it's always been something that I usually have the full reign on. But what I used to do is I didn't have any full builds at that point. I always wanted to have a full build. And then I think as a fabricator in a shop, when you start off, it's a milestone. You want to get a full build because I was doing so many. I mean, I've done hundreds of little jobs, beautiful jobs, awesome. But like, I used to be a thing. Someone would hit me up, and I felt like a car salesman to Taylor. I'd come home.
Let me do this,
honey. No, honey. I think we got a full build.
Oh, really?
I think we got one. And I used to wish
just
for
so
it.
ambitious, yeah.
I used to wish for it,
yeah,
because I was just not getting this full build. I wanted the one, and I need to be careful what I wish for because it's changed now, and now that's all we have. So, the creative side, yes, mostly people just say, "Hey, I want you to do this for me," and they know what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
and they let me do it. How
that's
I'm do
because
it.
you went out of your way to build your own stuff. Like, where did that truggy come from? When did that?
We've rehabbed a couple vehicles. Rehab meaning taking an older foundation and giving it a new life.
Mm-hmm.
So the truggy came from JK. That was his war machine for years, and he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I want to make this nice. I like put panels on it, put a windshield in it, all this stuff. I've had it for 13 years or whatever. I just want to make it sick." So that's what that snowballed into, and then we literally, I sketched all the panels. I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Yep, I like that. Let's do that. And then, we did the panels. It was so nice. He's like, "Oh, dude, should we just powder coat the chassis? Like, I think we should powder coat the chassis." "Oh, dude, I think it needs
a lot of attention.
I think it needs a dash." It does that. Like,
yeah.
The clients, I feel like the good ones that I've had, they're invested in getting the premium outcome, with me, where they get the best of it.
I said this to you before that I want to come see your art studio.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that statement?
Design studio.
Design studio.
Remember, there's a difference between an artist and a designer.
You like the design.
There's three things. There's an artist, there's a designer, and there's an engineer. The engineer is the guy who makes the thing work like properly technically.
I think I'm understanding now.
So an artist is, I can take mushrooms, and it sounds so diminishing, but like artists can just have an expression.
Design is a purpose built.
Design is an intentional surface and shape and part.
Okay.
Or car or whatever that may lend to an expression, but it is really around functionality.
Took me 3 hours to get that.
And then an engineer is the guy who goes, "Okay, well, you just designed the body of this pin. Now I have to put all the stuff in here, and I have to make it all click and work and do all that." And you butt heads. The engineers and the designers always butt heads. "You can't do that. You designed this. It doesn't work." How and there's always the thing. And so it's the same derivative with fabrication, and the engineering and the design are two different things. And you can easily shit the bed on one or the other, and they have to be cohesive. So, yeah, I call it a design studio, and that's why I laced it with fluorescent lights and stuff at the other spot, because that was like the same way I cut my teeth in Art Center, is this facility, like a studio room where there's so many fluorescent lights you cannot tell if it's daylight or nighttime, and you can work into the night, and you don't even know.
You don't even know.
No, there's no transitionary light that makes a difference. So that's what I wanted to create, and that's what I called it for a long time. This new one I call a gallery because it's bigger and it's got drop lights like high bay lights, and it's very gallery lighting. It's different, and it's 4 times the size.
What's your favorite build that you've done?
Well, I think the Vivian was the most prosperous thing we did for the company. Um, that was a pretty heavy rebuild. We still started with
After the first one it rolled, or
well, it used to
at
be
the
a
beginning?
Tundra.
Yeah, okay, at the beginning.
And like if someone wanted to argue like, oh, you didn't fully build that, but the argument is we took everything off except 43 inches of frame rail and some of the front bulkhead and the like front shock mount and bump can, and then we literally redid the entire thing. Shortened the wheelbase, new chassis construction, tin work, plumbing, wiring, all of it.
He drives the shit out of it too.
But he's the great. That's the people I love building for, because if you have a guy that doesn't push it, then it's like a display room. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a display car.
yeah, it might not even work.
No,
but
and I don't
prove
want.
that it
I don't.
works.
Fortunately, I have these guys where they use their cars. Vivian's the greatest example. These things take a long time to construct. The Frontier's done now, so that's getting used. And James goes out, and I thought he was going to be irresponsible, but he's being really good. He's learning it, and he takes care of it, and he's working on it, and it's
Nice
working
truck.
out. But a lot of the stuff I see now, I said I got clean for 11 and a half months,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't, and I fell back into relapse. And that's the darkest times. Those were the worst, because I let it slip to the point where I just that's what they say in like recovery, like you're only one step away or whatever from ruining your shit again, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But that's the thing, like I let one slip, and then it turned into 2 years of getting doing a week clean, 2 weeks clean, 3 weeks clean, a month clean, falling on my face again. And when you space time in between a relapse, it is it's so detrimental. It's mentally and physically and emotionally like ruins you, because you get going and you got good stuff going on, and then it's like pulling, an old computer, you pull the plug out of the wall and it has to do a system restore.
Yeah.
Well, no, system restore. So then and it was always on a weekend or something. And so I'm building my business, and then I'd go shoot myself in the foot in the middle of a day on a Saturday, and by Sunday morning, and I hate it, and I don't regret it, and I see if I wouldn't have conquered this thing, I wouldn't sit here and talk about it like that, and if I wasn't done, and I didn't have years of clean time, I wouldn't do this. But when I was in that was despair, hopelessness from Taylor, dropping the ball on my kids, and to the point where I'm on a Sunday, I would be downstairs while the kids are asleep, while Taylor's sitting across the counter, while I'm back to it, screaming and crying into my face, saying, "What the fuck am I doing? Why I fucking hate myself? Like, what I can't, like, what is, I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I kept doing this." And I started going to NA meetings, and you get a white chip, right, a key tag, and it's a newcomer chip. That when you go into an NA, have you ever been in an NA meeting?
I've been to one, but I never got that.
All right, so an NA meeting, a lot of the structure is in the beginning. They ask, who's in their first 30 days of sobriety or clean time or whatever. Is there any newcomers, right? Because usually the newcomer is a 30-day guy. And then they say, "Will you please come stand up and come get a chip?" And you give the person giving you the chip a hug and whatever. You say, "Hey, Morgan, addict," or whatever. I had a Ziploc bag of those motherfuckers.
Okay.
And that's because I kept coming back.
But you still wanted to be better. That's
Every
the
time
biggest
I
thing.
I was so frustrated with myself. And for someone on the other end of that's your partner, they
Yeah.
can't figure it out. They're like, "You have fucking kids, dude. You have me. We're doing everything we can. What are you doing?" Because it's such a gnarly thing. Some people call it a disease, but there's a thing in there that it ruined it. There's nothing that makes you stop unless you're ready to stop.
Bro, no, nothing is ever going to compare to the first thing that you told me about you. You're, whether you're strong enough or whatever to deal with it, the thing with your dad and your mother, that's that's hardcore, dude.
What's that?
Like your dad not being like not actually knowing him. Like
Oh,
that's a thing. Like
yeah,
that's gonna be something somewhere, and whether that trauma surfaces in you hating yourself or anything
yeah,
else, you know what I mean? We don't know where it's coming from, but
yeah.
I can't imagine that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and I don't know either. It's because you're not the first person that's asked like, "Hey, do you want to meet your dad or whatever? You ever want to find him?" And I chew on that a little more than I used to, but not out of a missing piece.
No, I don't think that's what I'm
You
getting
know?
at.
Yeah,
I'm what I'm thinking is like it's like maybe that piece is missing and we found a way to build over it
yeah.
and deal with it, but like I think that it's still there. You know
There's
what I
something.
mean? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, there's a sense of alone because I don't have a ton of family, and so when I get into some dark spaces now, mind you, my dark spaces are nowhere near what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, I can ride these things out, but
Yeah.
I feel super alone because I don't have my mom and I don't have a dad, and
Yeah.
I don't have immediate family. And if stuff's if Taylor and I are having some kind of discrepancy,
It's just you
I
guys.
am alone, dude.
Yeah.
Alone, and I feel like a lone wolf. And I don't mean it in a victim way, but it's just it doesn't leave a lot of window for support, and I don't reach out to people like that. So what I was getting at is, you know,
Maybe you should.
there's a place to do that, and I think for a bit I shared on Instagram a lot, and that doesn't feel safe to me anymore.
I
Uh,
agree with that.
and I've seen it thrown against me now, where like I've seen some stuff early on, and before I stopped seeing it, where it's like, what are you gonna fucking cry about it? Like some shit like that, right? And that's from me like sharing something in my life, sharing about my son, or sharing something that made me emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm like, this isn't for everybody. If I go into a meeting and I can be around a bunch of other people that are willing people that want to be in there to either be safe or to share, that's somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Coming on a podcast, these people can tune in and they can listen if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
That's safe. But just blasting stuff on social media, I don't feel like I'm safe anymore.
Almost just signing yourself up for
Yeah, and I don't,
hate.
and I'm in my transition now is living on a ranch, having a beautiful shop where I walk 200 yards to go to work, coming 20 yards out of my house and petting our horses, going 40 yards the other way and petting our goats and our pigs, having our beautiful little kids run around free, having a gate that people have to press a button and call a phone and see if they can even come inside of it, and building all the baddest, beautiful, passion cars I've ever had with a team of guys and a beautiful wife.
Sounds like you're winning, man.
Well, but I'm saying
You had
I
to
can
go through a lot of shit to get
I
there.
can go through my battles differently now because I protect my peace.
Yeah.
And I didn't even used to know what peace was, until we started this process, and it was all from getting clean, and not having that demon anymore, because that was my thing. Is even when I started talking about like getting into that stage of relapse, that brought me to my knees because I was trying so actively, and then I was falling and failing. And then it would, by Monday, so say that happened over the weekend, by Monday, I'm plugging in my computer. It's taken 2 or 3 days for me to even get back on track. How is that going to work well when you're running a business? And I'm grateful I have a business, because I could have lost everything, you know? And I see a lot of, with recovery, they call it having skeletons in the closet, and a lot of, they call it wreckage from your past, right? And you have to go through it, and you have to, like, part of the steps is you need to take an inventory and a moral inventory and this and that of all these things and places and stuff that you may have hurt.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I'm like, dude, a lot of that was with my business and learning hard lessons through my clients and stuff while I'm on this ride of trying to clean up my life, and I see a lot of that where I have like, those are my wars now. I have wreckage, that I have this beautiful thing I built and I broke it. And I have to sit here and try to put it back together. And thank God I didn't lose it or throw it in the trash. And it's not gone. And I didn't drop it off a cliff. But it's something I have to mend back and build back.
Yeah. Do you still go to meetings?
No, I was gonna take my chip a couple weeks ago, but I hurt myself on a dirt bike and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was going to a North Hollywood meeting, And for me to go to North Hollywood from where I live now, we're talking like, especially in the evening, so I'm gonna hit traffic. It's gonna be 2.5 hours.
Damn.
So that's a stupid excuse.
Which again, you drove that trek today to be here with me, so I'd like again to thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
all good.
Um, do you go to therapy?
Yeah.
You do.
Yep. And I can talk about some of the positive stuff.
I would like to hear some positive stuff out of that.
So, I got by this time, like, I flew under the radar, kind of still struggling with addiction and alcoholism throughout the business, right? Started the business in 2020. 2022, 23 is when I changed my life all the way. Around that same time, like my diet was fabricator diet. So, and this will all feed into that, but I was drinking Monsters, green Monsters every day, and gas station breakfast, and fast food 2 times a day, large fountain drinks. My health, same thing, suffered from that. What was your question originally with that?
Therapy.
Cool. So I got into a point maybe 4 years ago where I was so tired of myself. I felt like I didn't have tools. Right? Like just think about like how you deal with life and how you react and your emotions and how you handle. For me, it's how I handle my clients, how I handle a discrepancy, or how I handle, an employee, or how I am as a partner, how I am as a dad. Like I felt like I was out of tools. And I'm like, I need therapy. I need just someone to start giving me some tools. I've been in therapy throughout my life, but the therapy is one of those things where you only get what you put in. So if you're a kid,
Interesting.
yeah, if you're a kid and your mom's forcing you to go to therapy, you talk to him, but you don't have to tell him the truth. And if you don't tell him the truth, you're not going to get a honest answer of a solution. So going willing and able, where it's not something where your wife goes, hey, you need to go to therapy, blah, blah, blah. You don't have some court thing that makes you do it or whatever. That's the ticket is I got to a point where I go, I am sick and tired of who I am, how I'm acting. I need to figure this out. I'm ready to change. What does this look like? And so that's what I started. It was about 4.5 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And I same thing. So Jennifer helped me through like my addiction stuff. She's been with me from day one. I got clean through her, like just helping me, same thing. And then
Yeah.
I still see her. So every week, I talk with her.
Oh,
I
wow.
do a
Every
Zoom
week.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been doing it every week for the whole time.
Wow.
So it's a small investment because it's having an outside opinion, non-biased, no partner, and it's not just there's therapy. I think therapy gets a rap now where it's a monopoly where anybody can just go to therapy and then they just listen to you and then they get their fucking money and then that's it.
So finding the right one is almost.
And it's your investment. I want a therapist that I get direction and feedback from.
Yeah.
I don't want a passive one single dialogue. Listen, I can talk to anybody. I don't need someone just to listen to me. I need someone to tell me like, hey, check this out. Why don't you think about this? Why don't you do this? Maybe this is the solution.
Yeah.
Why don't we try this? Like that, and I have a active therapist where I run everything by her and she understands me to the highest level, non-bias, and gets me through my stuff. So why I was saying like the diet thing is because I made that an active thing, like with everything. My mental health with therapy and being clean and sober, physical health, same thing. I was eating and drinking like a scumbag, large Dr. Peppers, all of it, right? Like ice cream. And I remember chasing my kids around in the front yard and I was huffing and puffing, weighing 174 pounds. Like, what is wrong with me? And it was because I was eating or consuming
Trash.
pyramids of sugar, right? Like a pyramid of sugar. Because when you add up the sugar cubes, that's what it was. It was pyramids. And I was smoking pyramids of sugar every day. And so I cold turkeyed it, and then I started going to the gym again.
You feel way different getting off of sugar. It's wild.
It goes away, but then when you do it again, you feel it. Because I'll eat some like double stuffed Oreos or something, and then boom, like
dude, I'll have a soda, my fingers will stop working.
Yeah. So I went all in on changing my life.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's been the process. And so that's why I say like some stuff I deal with now is like business stuff, like old clients and old bullshit that I just got to square away.
Having a business in California, recommend it?
I I don't have any of those thoughts. I'm good. Like with my business, I got a lot of work, and I run it as legit as I can.
Yeah.
So now that we transferred to a corporation, I do hear a lot of stuff about, a corporation versus a LLC. But I have a guy that does all my stuff.
Okay.
Part of my learning process is surrendering to systems and services so I can do what I'm good at, and have a professional
I
run
think
the
that's
business.
a good bit of advice for young business owners.
It's a transitionary thing. When I hurt my hand, so I broke my hand on a dirt bike 2.5 years ago, and I'm left-handed, and so it was detrimental. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to. I can't hold a pin. I can't do anything. It was just done for a while, and I had to get screws and a plate in there, and my brain, my mentality was, oh my gosh, I do everything. I'm not going to be able to do anything because I am the guy that does everything.
Yeah.
And what it did is it put me into a forced situation where then I had to start investing into my guys and my team and giving them more responsibility, which then makes them feel more empowered and run the thing as a team.
Yeah.
And have them work closely with them and build into them and invest into them and share with them how I would do things and find tools and ways where I could have them build stuff for me because I couldn't. And it gave me this extreme leadership position right off the bat. Well, not right off the bat. I eased into that.
Ease into it.
Yeah. And so that was stage one, and learning the rest of it, same thing. So now I hurt myself super bad like 3 weeks ago. I was in the hospital for 4 days. And then, I've been recovering like that, but I didn't even stress it.
You mentioned something about it. Why don't you go ahead and tell what happened?
What's that?
Your little accident.
Little
accident. You
no,
got 4 broken ribs.
Just crashed on a dirt bike locally. I find so
You
part
on
of
a
our
track or something, or you
no,
just,
but we live in the hills, so part of my mental therapy is the horses.
Mhm.
We have 5 dogs, but I have this big horse, and he's my big therapeutic horse.
Yeah.
And then so I say I have a flesh horse and I have a steel horse, and then my dirt bike is something that I've tapped into from when I was younger. And so we stage at the house, and I have neighbors and stuff, and dirt biking is big in our area.
Yeah.
So any given Saturday we usually go out with 3 to 6 people, and we do rides.
Yeah.
I do a 20-mile, pretty nice 20-mile loop, and on the way home, usually we do a 20-mile. We come home, we refuel, and then we do another 22-mile that goes by like a deli, and we have sandwiches and stuff on the bikes, and then ride home.
Okay.
And the quality of life is insane. You're literally leaving out your gate. You don't see humans. You're just on bikes and trails.
Amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's literally, and that's why I'm like, I'm still gonna ride. No, this isn't gonna change anything.
Yeah.
But stuff happens, and so I had there's a growth from rain, and it makes all the bushes and the grass grow narrower on the trail, or makes the trail narrower.
Yeah.
And I just hit something in the field going fast, and it
Yeah.
offloaded the bike, and I came sideways. I think I hit a rock, and I slapped and cartwheeled and stuff. Luke said I got the air knocked out of me. Luke was with me, and then so you do the dying noise. He's like, you're doing that for a while. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, and then you got back on, and I think I gestured for him to lead, because in our neighborhood I didn't know how to get home. And then I got to the gate, and I didn't know the passcode to open the gate. So, and then when we staged up by the shop and parked the bikes, I was like mad about, I didn't know where my wife's car was. I didn't know where that was, and I was mad. Why is it at the dealership? And, all this stuff. Like, they're like, yo,
It got a hold of you.
you're smoked.
Damn.
So then I went to the hospital, and it was blood in my lung, broken collarbone, 3 posterior broken ribs, and then a concussion. I lost 6 months of memory. And then it started to come back, but I was like doing repeat text to people, and like, it was like a weird blacked out person for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, and I stayed there for 4 days just because I couldn't move properly, and this thing happened from a dog bite on Friday, so the thumb's different.
Oh, I think I was like, he smashed his thumb.
No,
He got bit by.
I got bit by one of our dogs pretty heavy. I broke up a dog fight, and it got me.
Oh man.
And it's just, dog bites are nasty.
They are.
So
Yeah.
I came, but I same thing with that. I was prepared. When I got hurt, I'm like, all right, well, here's what we're gonna
Here
do.
we go.
Text the guys. Print out the stuff. Do this. The thing I've noticed with having a team of guys is the more that you hold on to being the boss, the less efficient the business will be. unless you're running a different kind of outfit. But for what we do, it's a really tight knit, thing. And the more that I can communicate what's going on with the projects or what needs to be done or this and that, or, what client, just I share with them more, so it empowers them, and it also gives them a sense of responsibility with the business,
Yeah.
where they're not just being told direction. They're part of, and that's what I value. The shop dynamic we have is unlike any shop I've ever been in, and I created that. I've created a safe place, and with working in different shops, it's very typical that guys are going around and they're talking shit. That's the thing, yeah, and they're fucking judging.
You guys are a team. If you're not pulling your weight, then the team.
It's deeper than that, because when I've been in other shops, I used to hate it because I'm like, these people, this guy that's fabbing over here, he doesn't want to see you win, and you guys are working at the same place, building the same shit.
Yeah.
And I just watch the egos and like pride and insecurities and all the shit. And I'm like, dude, I spend more time in this place than I do with my family.
Yeah.
Like,
No
why?
shit.
Why would I ever want any of that in my life?
Yeah.
And so it all falls from leadership. Whoever's running that outfit, it's on them. And the same thing, if you're letting stuff like that happen and they're undermining the leader, or there's shop banter going around or something like that, then that's all on leadership. So I've created this thing where we have this home where everybody's on point. We're teamwork and stuff. We get together, we collaborate on stuff. We're writing stuff on the whiteboards. People are ordering stuff. Everybody's part of everything.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. So I didn't stress on the injury. It just sucks because I need to use my body.
Yeah. I try to. I don't know if you want to keep going or not. I know you have a long ride home, but I try to end each episode with some positivity in a situation where you were once struggling with.
Sure.
What would you say to a younger you who needed to hear that?
I don't know how to. We either chew on that for a minute. So you're saying, what advice would I give someone that was struggling?
Just like you were, and you're like you at a younger age. Like for me, there was so many times where I was just like, F it, and just wanted to self-destruct.
Yeah.
And if I would have just had somebody just shut up for a minute and listen, like it's no big deal, like it'll pass over, you'll be fine, I would have made a lot of different decisions, I think.
Mine was so, my own self-sabotaging that I don't know if anything that an outside source would tell me would be beneficial to me changing direction.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that I would need a strong arm. I would need someone to come in and disable me, for a period of time over and over, But that's the thing, I think, with people when they're in patterns and they're not ready, there is no stopping them. I've had some instances even now with, like a friend and her husband, is having an alcohol problem, and she, what, can you just talk to him? Can you just, like, I just know he needs help. I can, but it's not going to go like that. Yeah,
unless he's ready.
So I don't know. I used to use God as my bail bondsman, where I heard that terminology and I didn't make that up. And it's when you don't have a relationship with God, but you go, God, please, just this one night. If you just get me through this one night, please, I promise I'll stop doing this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I used to do that. And he would get me through it. But it was just bail bondsman, because I wouldn't come back until I needed another bail bond.
You have a relationship with God now?
Yes. Yeah. I don't lean into God as much because it used to turn me off when people would talk about it. So I just say either the universe, I kind of run it together. I say like the universe or God. I do that. I leave it as a window because I think they're both cohesive with each other.
Yeah.
But I believe in a higher power of something. I don't know if it's a man or a God. I don't know. I know for a fact there is something that has helped me. And there is things that have lined up in my life where no matter what, there's something greater than myself that has done this. 100%.
Yeah.
And I've asked for things. I've prayed. I used to get into a really good habit of going to the gym in the morning, and in the morning I would not have the radio on and I would just pray.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'd get, can I tangent on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
I would get people together. Mom, grandpa, my buddy Trace that passed away, Uncle Dale, like whoever I could kind of.
What's his name?
Which one?
You just said Trace?
Trace. TRES. So, I would get people together and then I'd just talk to them or something. But the ways that I've prayed is I don't pray like, hey, God, I need this right now. I need you to,
That's not
I need
prayer.
$1,000,000 right now. You got to help me. Yeah, I need this deal to go through.
It's not prayer.
Well, that's a subject to personal opinion. But to me, that's not how it works for me. What I say is I always say, Lord, Father, whatever, this is what I'm battling right now. And all I ask is that whatever the outcome is the outcome that's supposed to happen. Period. Whatever that means. If that means something's gonna fuck me and the all the houses, the whole barn's gonna burn, okay. Because I trust in him.
Yeah.
I trust. And so I know that I'm in agreement in my life. Remember agreement?
Yeah.
I live in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go out and cheat. I don't talk to other girls. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do these things that bring guilt to where I'm not in agreement, so I can trust the process in my life. That's why it's important.
Feeling better about yourself seems like what it sounds like you just want to be an upstanding person according to yourself, not according to what other people think.
I make a ton of mistakes, and I've same with the business. I always kind of go back to that because that's my hot plate right now is kind of dealing with mistakes that I've made and lessons I've learned and cleaning the wreckage. But it's just about living in agreement, and it has to do with like karmatic debt too. Everything when I got to the end of my alcoholism and my addiction, things would happen to me negatively quickly. Car would break immediately. Something foreign would happen. Something would go south, and it was the universe or it was God like getting me quick. Like showing me that the world is trying to have me stop doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's the same. So even with prayer, I have surrendered control and put things into faith and hope instead of fear. And by means of prayer, where I just, however this is supposed to go, all I pray is that it goes the way that that is supposed to. Not yes or no, or it worked or didn't. No, just whatever the path is, because I trust the path. And every time I've done that, it goes how it's supposed to go. And it's usually not what I'm thinking. Like, it's not what I want. It's whatever I needed.
That's what I was just
they
gonna
thread
say.
the needle differently than you think.
Yeah, we have these like these ideas of what what we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
but I mean, it never usually happens that way.
I've looked at too much in my life now, where I'm 41, so I see enough now of my patterns of like what's happening. That's even when I was running and gunning and moving fast.
Yeah.
And now I'm tuned up, so things work really differently now. Like manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when The Secret came out and all that, but there's something powerful that I've connected dots in my life that are insane that have been manifested throughout my life. So I trust a higher power or a universe, even if I'm struggling.
The way we look at things affects a lot too, I think, because like we can have a conversation and hear a person get like frustrated over something and be like, we focus on that frustration,
Yeah.
but the reason he's frustrated is because of something he's so passionate about. And it's like we focus on the negative part of that rather than hearing actually the positive part of that conversation, and we end up missing, I think, a lot of uh I mean, I lack of a word, more positive understanding of ourselves.
Mhm.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like I've realized that I focus on more negative things than I do positive. Just like whenever you showed up, my truck, I'm sitting here, I'm like, my motor guy, my motor guy. But at the same time, it's like I could get a new motor, but instead I'm harboring those angry feelings, and it's controlling my path.
That's usually the route most people take. It's easier to do, even though it's harder on you.
It's not easier at all. I don't like the way it feels.
It's a short-term gain.
Yeah.
It's that impulsive thing, and I think that's been the lessons for me for the last year or so is emotional reactionary behavior, disconnect from emotional behavior, disconnect from reactionary behavior. Reserving that for special things or positive things. Same thing like that. You're look at how much energy you put into there, and that's the whole thing too. Is I look at energy. I have this thing that's
You're
happened.
right, dude.
No, but I look at this thing where I'm 41. The statistic is I think you're 52 or 56% through your life. That's what they say.
Yeah.
If I get that.
Yeah.
I've done enough stuff in my life where I hope I make it through my
Hope
60s. Yeah.
maybe we get
But
10 more.
That's the thing. I don't waste my time anymore. I look at how valuable my energy is. How do I want to spend my energy?
Mhm.
What I do not have the time or the energy to put into negative stuff, and I can now. I have so much awareness that I can know when I'm going there, because sometimes, like you say, you chew on a thought. My analogy for that is sometimes if I'm in a spot where my frequency is not good, I sit, and it might come in the afternoon or something, and I sit on a thought. One negative thing happens, and I literally, it's like a really hard chew toy, and I chew on that
All day
fucking thing,
long.
and all of a sudden 3 hours come by.
Yeah, what the hell?
I'm like, I didn't do shit. Why did I do that? And so I do that with everything now. That's why I say, like, my whole life is based on, like, it sounds hippie, but it's like peace
Peace
and
love.
energy and access. If there's stuff like that going on, I divert. You know, I either stop the access to the people, or I focus on whatever positive, and I stack
Well,
wins.
see, that's what triggered this whole thing. Is like I didn't like seeing it and feeling that cortisol raise. I didn't like feeling that, and I'm like, I would rather just trash the whole thing and start with a Ranger, than feel negatively about something that I'm so passionate
Do you know what
about.
did you hear what I told you when you said that to me?
Yeah, you said it's destructive. It's
No, I
taking
said it's an inside job. That was the first thing I said. You didn't hear me. It's an inside job. That's all your inside shit that you can't deal with, that you're making about a truck, throwing a truck in a dumpster. That's an inside job. That's just how you've dealt with your shit, or haven't.
just walking away from it.
Well,
than doing it.
what's that? You know, then you're gonna trigger, a bunch of other stuff off that. But instead of just dealing with something, and learning how to handle it internally,
Yeah,
versus letting an external thing take so much control of your life.
I agree with
It's an
that.
inside job. That's all a perspective thing.
Some like self-destructing.
It's perspective. When I get into a negative space, it takes a couple things, and I go, "Oh shit, here it comes," and everything sucks. Everything's negative to me. I can't even get out of it. I question my whole identity. I question my career.
Yeah,
I question if I'm doing stuff. Why am I even doing this? Is this even real life? Like, I'm sucking. I do all of it immediately. I know when it comes, and sometimes it comes in waves where I just have to write it out. It doesn't even go away. I just, at some point it does, but I can't close it. I have to go, okay, we're here. What am I going to do to feel better? All right, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to make a list of 3 things, and then I'm going to just do those 3 things. And by the time I get through those, I'm going to feel better because I did those 3 things,
Yeah.
and my whole thing changes.
yeah. I say that all the time. The first write a list. Lists are so important because if it's just scraping some paint off of something, at least you scrape something off that list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've talked to some guys that are like in a position of fabrication business or whatever, and that I've like friends with them. They're always like, dude, I don't know how to stay focused, and my phone and this and that. I'm like, they're all tools. Like I listen to Andy Frisella, and he has the Real AF podcast, and he owns First Forum and a
Yeah.
couple other companies, and his same thing is he has a get shit done list. It's called a power list, and it's 5 things. The goal is every day you wake up or whatever you're doing. Like a lot of times, I start it the day before or on the way to the gym. Or in the gym in the morning. I put together 5 things,
Yeah.
non-negotiable. These are 5 things you need to do, because your brain goes, well, I need to do 15 things, not 5. No, you prioritize 5, just 5 main high priority things for the day, and then what you do is you do them one after another, and you do not divert no matter what. So when you walk over someone, you go, dude, I have to. No, I forgot about this. No, you do the 5, and you no matter what, and you stick to those 5 things. And what it does is it gets them done, but it also builds that confidence. Like there's a thing of attacking
Yeah.
that programs you.
Almost like you're beating a level on a video game or something. You're just leveling
and
up
then
every
anything else
time.
after that is extra credit.
Yeah.
You're good. So that's how I always refocus. If I feel super lost, where it's like a bunch of balloons floating in the air, and I'm trying to grab one, and this one's over here, and it's all stuff I have to get done or part of my life,
Yeah.
I just literally power list 5 things, so I don't have to look at the noise of anything else. It's just the 5, and that's it. And then I can get flustered if I make it through the day. You got more questions?
Let's see where we're at. That's up to you. We can keep going.
Oh, I didn't. Well, you said about like what would I tell my young self?
Yeah.
So same thing. I don't know what to do with that. Everybody moves at their own pace. It depends on your investment with that person. If that was my son, I'd have to do a lot more than just talk to him one time or say one thing.
I agree with that. And with that being said, Morgan, I'm very thankful for your time. I'm very thankful
Sure.
for you driving up here and sharing your story with
Yep.
me. It's a lot more hardcore than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I feel like I gained another friend today.
Yep.
It's very nice meeting you.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Cool.